words, Brother Keith.
All right. Assalamu alaikum. Black power. Giving honor to God. I bear witness that regardless of land, label, or language, that there is but one God. If we search the text of Scripture, we give thanks for Abraham, give thanks for Moses, give thanks for the black Messiah, called Jesus in the Greek, and Yahshua in the Hebrew. We give thanks for the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. We are the only people that have accurately and factually been in the land that is not our own for over 400 years. We are the choice of God. And so if God found favor in Palestine and found favor in Arabia, what about us? I thank God for Harriet Tubman. Can you hear me? I thank God for Reverend Nat Turner. Y'all must not like Nat Turner. You must got something against him as far as I'm hearing of people. I thank God for Reverend Nat Turner. I thank God for Marcus Mosiah Garvey. I thank God for the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I thank God for a man he raised up, Minister Malcolm X. I thank God for Noble Drew Ali. I thank God for all the sacrifices that Dr. King made. I thank God for the sacrifices Rosa Parks made. I thank God for the sacrifices that Stokely made, Kwame Ture. Our prayers are out. Though he's not an ancestor, he's still with us. Jamil El-Amin, we're still with him. I thank God for all of those laborers and workers whose names are not known, but yet they are no less important because they were killed in the struggle to get our people free. If I live to be 1,000 or the ripe old age of Methuselah, I can never thank God enough for a bold, bald-headed black man, a bold man, a strong man. My teacher was a strong black man, an uncompromising man, a thinking man, a warrior, a supreme captain and a spokesman and a minister at the same time, a scholar and a debater and an outright revolutionary who set his feet amongst us. That's right. I speak of Khalid Abdul Muhammad, whose spirit we carry here today, Dr. Khalid Muhammad. Yes, sir. And in all of their names and in his names, I'm back again saying Assalamu alaikum. All right, give yourself a hand. Pardon me and pardon us. You know, as I tell my staff and all our staff, the show goes on. It's a 5-day convention, not a 4-day convention. So you have to carry every detail out every day, all the way down to the detail, because everybody that comes in his house and everybody that comes to this rostrum is important to me and important to us. Yeah. Everybody at every single time and at not any point in time till this convention ends and after the convention, everybody must be handled properly. Everybody must be respected. They don't want to hear what you've been through. They don't want to hear about yesterday. They know that today, what's going on today. So I don't mind working and laboring and lifting the stage and all. I ain't too big for that. I want it to be right today for Brother Arthur Reed, Silky Slim, who is about to come teach on this roster. Have a seat, Doctor. from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I want it to be right for my brothers, the Moors. Y'all come on. Come on, have a seat. Taharka Bey and Ishmael Bey. Ishmael done come all the way across the country. Taharka Bey, who's the strongest Moorish teacher in the country. And our hope for the uniting of the Moorish movement, brother. Make sure that this live stream is on me and not pointing to somewhere else. Pardon me. Because they watch it. Over 40 or 50,000 watched our condemned Trump rally yesterday in front of the White House. And we are back here today. The American Institute of Human Rights, they are coming here today. And you all, many of you all are here to hear the man we haven't heard from in a while, and who I'm happy that will be delivering a major message today. And I speak of the Honorable Silis Muhammad. He's in the city. He's coming here. And so today is all about human rights. Today is all about self-determination. Today is all about reparations. Today is all about self-government. Today in this hall, and at this convention, our final day is the most serious day.
Yes, sir. Yes, it is.
We have had conferences after conferences amongst our people. Yes. And we must have them. We must be educated. We must be inspired. We must be revived. And that's what our purposes are. We have had here Dr. Tony Browder, Professor James Smalls. We had here from South Africa. Where's my brother, Baba?
Right here.
Come on, you always know this. From South Africa, our international guests who are taking our program all around the world. This man is all around the world, dozens of countries. Baba Buntu. We heard from him and were educated on night number 1. We heard from our economist here who gave us the seed for a 5-year Black National Economic Plan. We'll get into that later tonight. Dr. Boyce Watkins was here with us. Brother CEO, the young brilliant economist and entrepreneur David Anderson was here. Hakeem Ami was here. Sinclair Skinner was here. Young Greg Harris was here. Give our economist a hand who taught us on night 2, on Thursday night. On Friday, it was a beautiful dialogue right here on this stage. A beautiful dialogue here with Dr. Cornel West, the daughter of Malcolm X, Ilyasha Shabazz. Yeah, give him a hand. Go right ahead. Pastor Ted Sutton, Minister Hashim and Zinga, myself.
It's coming y'all. 500.
You don't. You give me a check, brother. I'm cashing your check. Send them a check.
It's 500 coming y'all. Get the check back, sir.
Okay, I'll hold it. I'll deal with you. No, I got it. No, I got this. You want to give it away? Brother, don't play around.
I just want to show you that it's not no
okay, excuse me.
It's not no talk. Just get the check back.
Hold 1 second. Brother, you chill today. Now I'm running this. Now what I'm going to tell you, number 1, is thank you. Because you want to give $500 out your 1,000. All right, chill. You let me run this. Don't be disrupting this. Chill. Now, brother, thank you for your donation and your intent.
Let me say something.
No.
I just want him to show you the check. I'm going to put it in my bank, sir. That's
okay. And I want my staff to follow you to the bank. Send Amy Jenkins here to make sure that he gets to the bank with this check since he's making all this fuss about it.
That's right.
Send me Dr. Amy. I'm going to send her to you with this check, and we're going to make sure you get right to the bank and get out what you need to get out. Let's give him a black hand. Give him a strong black hand. Let me rock. Ain't got time to play. Like Malcolm X say, I'm talking fast and gotta move this thing fast today. It's important. Our guests have important information. This is the most important day of the convention. Excuse me, brother. I'm not playing today. Move him out that aisle, brother. You gotta move out the aisle and stop all that. Our people, one of our main problems out here in the black nation is discipline. Discipline. Discipline, black people. If you holding a post, hold your post. Stop moving all around. If you're gonna be somewhere, be there. Do it. Just learn discipline. Try to be patient, but I'm gonna start cracking down. All right? Now, come on now. Now, today is very important. I got to move the ball. I have to move the agenda. Human rights, self-determination, reparations, self-government. Taking all that we say and putting it into a concrete reality. Where are we going out here? Are we just talking when we say we want reparations? Are we just hollering in a room? Or will this reach an arena? Will it reach a forum? Will it reach a jurisdiction where we can get action? Is the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, when he writes in Muhammad Speaks, that we want a separate land and territory of our own, is it just wishful thinking? Is it just a pipe dream? How many of you know what decolonization means? Raise your hand. Oh, you that smart out here, huh? All right, well, if you that smart, then you already warmed up. You already warmed up. What I'm saying here today, this is a very important day. Everyone who's watching, all the groups who are watching, I want you to pay careful attention to every word. We have scientists, we have advocates, we have lawyers, and we have those that have taken and are taking our case internationally into the world courts, and they are at the leading and the cutting edge for getting us true justice for the ravages and the brutality and the human rights violations of the United States of America and her police departments. So let me just move on and I'll set the stage there. I want to bring on now, because from Baton Rouge, who is, and he represents many organizations in his area. You've seen him on TV during the Alton Sterling tragedy, where our brother Alton Sterling was killed and murdered, human rights violations. He's fighting there. He's fighting there. And they don't like him because he's the most radical black man in Louisiana. Huh? Give him a hand. He's the most radical black man in Louisiana. He's all over the country. He come from hurting our people and harming our people, and he have healed thousands. He have taught thousands. He's all over the country, and he's from the streets and from the hood. He got his credentials. But he also got a word of Islam in him. He got a word from the movement in him. And he come here out of his own expense, his own charge. But he is a warrior on the front lines. From Stop the Killing Inc., Silky Slim, Arthur Reed. Come on and receive him.
First of all, I want to give honor to God. I bear witness that there is but one God. Come on. I am a student of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and I represent I represent the boldest black man that I know today, the Most Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. When I was in my grave, asleep, when I was high on PCP for 22 years, when I sat in a jail cell in Louisiana, all of these things came out of me through the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So if it wasn't for Elijah Muhammad, I would still be gangbanging. If it wasn't for the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, I would still be wearing blue, looking down on red, because I am a Crip. But through the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, I was awakened. And I thought about it today. I woke up around 6 o'clock and I went to the African American Slave Museum. And I noticed every city had something that they donated to this museum. And every state. And I couldn't wait to see Louisiana. I say, man, where is my state? And when I got to my state, it brought tears to my eyes. Because the two things that they had in the museum was a guard tower from Angola and a prison cell for Angola. And it woke me up because I said, wow. Louisiana, I have to respect the devil that's there, because what he is telling America, you may have freed these Negroes, but I keep them on the plantation. Yes, sir. I went to penitentiary at 16 years old, and I was so asleep till I was glorifying the life that I had been injected into. I used to love to go to the free world with all of my chains on and making a lot of noise and making ugly faces, because I seen the fear in individuals. When I was in the gang, one thing that we always studied was individuals. And we looked for something that people feared more than God. The number one answer to that is the devil. In fact, that's why you turn to God, because you're so afraid of what the devil will do to you after you die, but you're not paying attention to the walking, breathing devil that's on you every day. So once we found out that the devil was the thing that they mostly feared, and then you turn to God to get away from the devil, I look for that number two thing that you feared. And I found out that the number two thing that we fear the most is violence. So when you see a violent individual, that individual becomes one of the most respected individuals, because 9 times out of 10, we don't want to be violent, but now we live in a violent culture where you must be violent. So once I started to awaken to all of the things, I still had that slave mentality. I enjoyed being a prisoner, and I got some bleach thrown in my eyes in prison. And I had to go to the hospital, and this is what woke me up to what was going on. An old lady, about 70 years old, with a bandana tied on her head and raggedy slippers on, was standing there when I got out of the van. And when I stepped out of the van with the chains on, it was a little baby right there. And the little baby looked so cute. I looked down at the little baby, and the old lady said, "Get back, baby. That bad man will get you. Ooh, look at that bad man." And everybody in the emergency room started looking at me. And that's when shame fell upon me, because I never wanted to be known as the bad man. Even though I was infiltrating him and looking like him, it was because somebody had poisoned my mind. And when I looked at what we were doing to each other in the streets, I said it yesterday, I have to say it today. See, we can't just be channels of Black Lives Matter. We can't just say that at the White House. We have to let Black Lives Matter at the crack house, at the abortion house. We have to let Black Lives Matter, because if Black lives do not matter to Black people first, then who the hell else should it matter to at all? See, if Black lives don't matter to us, that's why it don't matter to nobody else. And that's never, ever giving this man a pass to continue murdering us. But we have to look at ourselves. And when I see myself, I have to see my brother, because the root word of brother is other. So I'm looking at my other self when I see Dr. Jeffries. No, I don't have his accomplishments, but my stride tries to make me reach halfway to where he is today. Every time I wake up, what the minister say, but when the minister say go move, you sit on your behind. Organizational gangbangers, and one thing about us, we're quick to turn against each other. But that white, you can't make it into hell because they don't believe in Jesus. And that's the problem. See, Jesus has too many worshipers and not enough workers. He said, what? Pick up your cross. Where we going? Because we don't live by the principle of the religion. I walk inside of the mosque. I walk inside of the church. What you been doing, brother? I've been fornicating. Oh, Lord, what? Yeah, I'm a man and I don't like other men. So I stay because I understand what God really is. The disciples rolled up on him and they had been looking for him.
Yes,
and
right.
When they went to shoot inside the car, the first thing he said, wait, man, let me get out. I got my baby in the car. And the baby killer looked in the back seat and they shot the baby, then they shot him in his head. That's why we have to repair what has happened to us as black folks. That's the repair that we need, because even though we have never been to war, we still suffer from post-traumatic hood syndrome. When we're raised to be soldiers from a youngster. And even though I speak on violence all the way across the world, I also have to touch at home, because the most intimate level of violence that we never deal with is the violence of speech. That mother kills that child every time she gets mad with that daddy. You look just like that no good nigga I hate you for.
Teach us.
You ain't gonna never be nothing because your power ain't nothing.
Teach.
And those are nice words, but the words that came out of my mother's mouth were far more devastating than that. So when I went into the penitentiary at 16, right down the walk was my father. And my father had been there for 23 years and he didn't have any loving words to say, I love you, son. He said, boy, you know you got to be a man now, don't you? Because I ain't carrying you on my back. So you were forced to be a man in a man's world where you're a little boy. With no time for being a little boy, because our minds are so paused and flippant until if we're not in the casket, we're on our way. You can continue to flip it slowly. So every day, this is the picture. Death is the order of the day, but we promote it. So even though we're in church on Sunday, the rest of the day, we find ourselves in hell. See, we're 6-day sinners, Sunday morning Holy Ghosters. We're good on Sundays, but for the rest of the days, we do what the hell we want to do. Serving God is a 24/7 mission. Continue. So all of these youngsters died at the hands of not the white man. 6,727 deaths, and at least 4,730 were committed by someone that looked exactly like him. That's the reality that we have to deal with. So when you see a people that's suffering, because we are so naive when we speak of this. Oh, that black on black crime, you don't hear white folks talking about white on white crime. See, this is a civil war that has taken place inside of the urban community, and I tell everyone, gentrification without education is an assassination. See, when they take you from your set and put you on my set, and I've been hustling over here for 23 years, I'd be damned if I let you come over here and make one dime without putting up a fight. See, that's the thing. We're quick to fight each other, but when you start talking and being, like he said, a radical, I say some things in Baton Rouge that shake white folks up, but then I feel good, stick my chest out. I told them exactly how I felt. And then I go to my homeboy house, and you know what he say? Man, son, what you coming around here for, man? No white folks gonna kill you, bro. I don't want that around my family. All of a sudden, now he cares about his family. But when we're gangbanging in the street, we don't worry about family. We don't worry about nobody black killing our family, because we out there trying to kill blacks. But when you look white folks in the eye and they have that death in their eye, we become cowards. Man, you didn't see how them people came? I'm not worried about how the people looking at me. I understand that they had me for a fool for 22 years. And now that I have knowledge, I'm ready to fight this beast until death. But when you talk like that, you find yourself by yourself.
Go ahead.
If I'm planning to go shoot up another part of the hood, I could get $1 million. If I say let's go down to the city council and flip the tables over, man, I ain't going to jail. When you selling dope right now on your way to penitentiary, the only thing you're being is held up. And even though you make a lot of money in the dope game, when the white man come and get you, he take the money, you and your manhood. That's the first thing he takes from you is your manhood. I was in Washington one day and I was just being thankful to Allah. I say Allah, I went to penitentiary at an early age and I've never ever been raped or misused. And God showed it to me. He said, check this out. When you walk in that room and they say, take off all your clothes, raise up your private, turn around, open up your backside, call for me, call for me. He says, spiritually, you have been raped because that's the most inhumane thing that could happen to any human being. But because we look at that as our pride, it doesn't bother us until we wake up. So we have to repair ourselves. Flip this for me because I want to get through this, brother. This is the root of it. The love of money. The love of money is the root of it. Because when you're living in conditions that we came from, when you get a lot of this, you think you have arrived. So when I would go home, you can continue to flip it. When I would go home and I would take off the Rolex watch and park the Benz, one night I actually cried in the mirror because I was so empty up here. And that's when I realized that I had to escape, I had to escape this lifestyle because even though we have money, we don't invest in ourselves for to repair ourselves. We put Jordans on our feet and think that adds value to who we are. Jordan spends his money gambling and on white folks. So when I woke up to this, go a little bit slower for me. Go a little bit slower for me.
Go by what he said.
So go back because I think we missed the projects.
Go by what he said.
Growing up. Go back some more for me. Oh yeah, you went way too fast, black man. Yeah, this is one of the places where I grew up. And one of the things that happened here is that my mama, she was on drugs, you know? And she would take the $145 worth of food stamps and she would sell it for drugs. So I was forced to survive for myself. I will beg before I steal, but I will steal before I starve. That's the mentality of today's youth. So growing up here, started these trap houses. And as you can see, it's a very filthy place. But we had to be out of our mind to lock ourselves into a house where the police would what? Trap us, and then we started rapping about it. Dr. West said that this music is nobody's music because it adds nothing to the brain. And that's exactly what rap is doing now, is stripping us down of everything. There's nothing wrong with rap, but when you don't have the proper message in the rap, you have to add the C to it because it becomes crap. And that's why we're in such a crappy condition. Continue. So this is me at 16 on my way to penitentiary. Go 35 years later. The chopper, the Desert Eagle on the side, because even though my pants was not sagging like they do today, my mind was just as low as theirs is right now. Continue. So these things does not add any value to us. Continue. So all of these material things that I had no happiness. I was in a hell that I was wishing that I could escape from. Now, this is a very interesting picture. This young lady here is my kid's mother. And she is my thorn in my side because today she's out in the streets on drugs. And I'm trying to keep my little 16-year-old girl and travel and bring some knowledge. But this is a thorn in my side. And women get caught up with, I got a baller. I got a ball, and I told her when we was balling, I said, well, look, baby, you can have all the finer things in life. We had a 6,800 square foot home. We had everything that we thought we wanted, but still didn't have any happiness. So she would catch a lot of domestic violence from me because I was always that jealous type of Negro. Women, if you're in a relationship and it's not going right, make sure you get out of that relationship with your life. If a man puts his hands on you, he don't love you. You can go. So these weapons, now see, Syria had some little nerve gas that they say they use. But these weapons of mass destruction, America want to keep. So when we talk about banning guns, hey, you're not going to take away my Second Amendment rights. Because these are the weapons of mass destruction that's killing the black man, but because they don't give a damn about the black man, they want to keep them in your hand. They understand that you've been conditioned and trained and that you will not turn these weapons of mass destruction on them. They understand that. So when you see it, what's our biggest problem? Our youth. Look at the youth. Now some fool put his son like this. And here's another baby. This is just go on Facebook, you catch it all. Go again. He's got a blunt in his mouth. What type of father is that? It's one that needs repairing. So we got a good argument to take before the courts. We need repairing. I always tell people, I say, look, I can't deal with this devil and get him to give us reparations, but if God comes back and judges, I think that I could represent us well. Look, Allah, Jesus, whoever you want to call on, we need a pass because we were out of our minds. We were temporarily insane. They drove us crazy and would not help us repair ourselves. That's the problem. This young man, he has a play weapon, but you can look by the look on his face, what? I will kill you. This is the type of madness that we deal with in this. Little girls that mothers see take the virtuous spirit off of the child. So some sick old man sitting on the porch while she comes home from school, he gets arrested for molesting her, and then you want to blame the old man. That was my baby. Well, you should have had her dressed like she was walking the strip. I hate parents that dress little kids like this. I hate parents that dress kids like this. This is deep need for repairs. When we kill each other in the streets every single day, we kill each other. The weapons of mass destruction take brains out of the heads of black young men. The AR-15 and AK-47 kill young men every single day across America. And you know what? All of these people I know. This ain't something that I brought off the internet. These are individuals that I hung with and be with, and now they're gone. So a sick mind is what I once had. So when I look at this, and I try to wake you up to what you see. Now here's a very well-educated brother with a PhD. But at nighttime, he would go and hustle, and one of his homeboys was in the house waiting on him and shot him down in the face with a sawed-off shotgun. So with this, I'm good. With this, if you look at this and you can't see, we need reparations, that we need repairing. Something is wrong with you. When Trump look at this, you know what he says? They're doing it to themselves. No, something is wrong with us up here. Because when I see you, I should see you as my brother. But what has happened? If I was to walk on Malik's feet, his feet doesn't say, hey man, that hurts. His mouth do. Hey man, you're on my feet, Slim. That's a nervous system that he's connected to. We're disconnected from our nervous system today. So I don't see you as my brother anymore because they took that word out of our mouth. We started off in America as niggas, Negroes. Then we became black, and as soon as they say, I'm black and I'm proud, we can't let it be that. Then they changed the script, and the NAACP, I love them to death, and I told them, I say, hey, the biggest problem right now is that there are no more colored people. We so proud to be African Americans. So once you realize who you really are, then you'll start to change everything within you. we walk around like a dead people in a grave. And unless we bow down to God and change our wicked ways, we will continue to be in the hell that we're in. Thank you so much.
Come on, y'all. Get on your feet. Get up on your feet for this man. Arthur Reed, Silky Slim. All praise to you, God. This is what we need. And this is what our young people need to hear. And I want to say this to everybody here and everybody that's watching on the webcast. I want this man in your city everywhere across America. And if you want him to come, bring him. And I'm going to be on tour with him, going around everywhere we can, coming throughout the spring, summer, fall, and forever, taking his message and taking our message. And here's his group, Stop the Killing Inc. It's an organization. This man is serious. And so we want all the Stop the Violence activists and the other people to take note, because we're bringing them together too. Let's give them another hand.
I personally want to thank Malik for allowing me to be here today, but every time I see Malik, it brings tears to my eyes, because I see a brother that's fighting for us when we don't even want to fight for us. And one thing that I am honored by his presence at all times is that he don't give a damn if it's 10 or if it's 1.
That's right.
He gonna get the job done. So y'all give Brother Malik a hand.
Praise God. All right. All right. So the Honorable Silis Muhammad, he's in the building. Give him a hand. Strong man. One of our great teachers, our great griots, a man who has stood with me and stood for us for a couple of decades now, the Honorable Dr. Leonard Jeffries, he's in the house. And we'll hear from him after we hear from the Honorable Silis Muhammad. And then we're going to have an historic dialogue where they all want to be together on this stage. All of them together. So, buckle your seatbelts, you ain't going nowhere for a while. And I don't want to go nowhere. I want to be in this day. Now, the Moors. You know, we fight it out with the Moors a lot. You know, these Moors, now I love me some Moors, right? However, we be getting into it over this black thing. We ain't gonna get into that tonight. But I want to say here this. I know some Moors, and I met some Moors that remind me of what Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad said when he said, I am a Moor.
Yes, right now.
Because Moorish history is our history, and our history is Moorish history. It's all the same thing.
See?
And you can't say that you are proud of yourself, proud of your African history, if you don't know Moorish history.
See?
And if you don't have respect for Prophet Noble Drew Ali, if you don't know who he is and what he is and why he did what he did, then you're missing out on your own history and your own greatness. When you see men in America with the red fez, and you seen that picture of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad with the red fez, I want you to understand that there are some living descendants, some living practitioners of the work of Noble Drew Ali here. And although there are many Moors, there are so many Moors, I say, how many more Moors is it going to be? I have asked the question, who is going to unite the Moors? Who is going to bring all of these sultans and all of these tribes together? You know, the Holy Quran say, God say, I made you into tribes and families so that you may know one another. Well, I want to bring to you our friends in this Black Power movement, our allies, my allies, Brother Taharka Bey and Ishmael Bey, and they are part of a nation that we're building, and they are for sovereignty, nationalization, independence, and a government of our own. Ishmael Bey and Taharka Bey, please receive them. Good afternoon, family. Did I turn you that? One last twist. Good afternoon, family. How y'all doing? You got it. Well, as always, let me rise first and give praise to the great God of the universe, Allah. And when we in the Moorish Science Temple of America refer to Allah, we're just referring to that infinite source of life. And I don't want anybody to get it twisted with a moon god or Arab god. So I just say that we're talking about the infinite being that brought all of us into existence. And we refer to that being as Allah in the Moorish Science Temple of America. I'd like to give honor to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, who said in 1913, that if I can teach you to think, you can save yourself. If I can get you to thinking, you can save yourself. I give honor to the brother Marcus Mosiah Garvey, who made the statement, and I'm gonna paraphrase, is where is the government for the African people here? Where is the men of nobility? Where is the people of great stature, the people of great achievements here in North America? He said, I don't see it, so we're gonna create it. I give honor to the brother Marcus Mosiah Garvey. We here today to talk about reparations. And I made a statement yesterday, if y'all were there, that before we can get external reparations, we need some internal reparations. We got to repair ourselves first, because we can't come together with the ill repair that has been instituted within ourselves. So we got to repair that first. But from a Moorish Science Temple of America perspective, when we talk about reparations, one of the main tenets of the Moorish Science Temple of America is nationality. I want y'all to hear me close. Nationality. You may hear throughout the Moorish diaspora that nationality is the call of today, or nationality is the order of today. Now, when we talk about nationality, as my brother Malik Shabazz stated, that there comes a lot of conflict when the Moors will say, well, I'm not black, and why are you calling yourself black, and this, that, and the other? Well, during the time of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, that was not a conflict. I've studied the history, I know the history very well. The ideal of nationality is predicated upon self-identification. We in the Moorish Science Temple of America identified that black is an ambiguous term. It does not cover the total construct or the legal construct of what a group of people represent. This is the Moorish Science Temple of America ideal, and I just want to educate you on it, just a tad. So when you look at it in America, we live in a nation state. We live in a nation state type of reality. And when you look at the nation state type of reality, you see that Europeans like to refer to themselves as white. And as Malcolm X said, and y'all have seen in the movie, they give us the lower vibration, if you will, black. That's the concept of the European. He gives himself white and he defines it as something greater than black. Well, we in the Moorish Science Temple of America, we say, you're not white, we're not black, people are not crayons. When people come to the United States, one of the first things that they have to do is proclaim their nationality. If they come from Italy, they connect themselves to the country called Italy, and they become Italian American. If they come from Greece, they become Greek American, Polish American, on and on and on. Even if they come from the continent of Africa, they designate themselves as Nigerian American, Kenyan American, on and on and on and on. So when we call ourselves black, we're asking, what
land or designation that would connect us to in the form of nation state and the reality that we live in today. That is the concept of Moorish American, i.e. Moorish Science Temple of America thought. Now, when you understand the concept of Moorish Science Temple of America thought, you understand that we're only trying to self-identify ourselves with our illustrious history that is Moorish. Whether we choose to accept the term or not, we are descendants from the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa, and any scholar on the face of the earth will agree with that. Now the only thing that we have to come to terms with, if those people were Moorish people, then we can find that out too. Now let's bring it up just a little bit so I can give my brother some time. Now, as I previously stated, when an Italian person identifies himself, he's identified with a land and he's identified with the land that he's coming into. So his nationality would be Italian American. Why is that important? The reason why that's important is because any country that have received any type of reparation, first of all, they had to identify themselves within the construct of the laws that is. And the laws that is, when you look at the so-called Jew, if you will, the European Jew, when he came out of the Holocaust, he had been identifying himself as a Jew. We know who the true Jew is, I hope we do. He identified himself as that. He looked at a piece of land. He asked his European brother to get him that piece of land. He identified that piece of land as Israel. He became Israeli and he received his reparations. That's just how it worked. When you look at the Palestinian PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, the way that they got onto the United Nations, it grew out of an organization. And although they're a nation without their land, they are still identified as a nation. But what is the common thread? The common thread is self-identification that's consistent with the universal or international standard. And so, as my brother Silky Slim just said, 1 minute we were black, 1 minute we were a Negro, then we were colored, and now we're African American and went from Afro-American. Why does it continue to change? The reason why it continues to change, so we will continue to be confused, refuse identification that put us into the social international construct in order to receive the reparations that is ours. That's what it's all about. So the moment that we come together and identify ourselves, whether it be, listen, I am not one of them guys that try to force anything down anybody's throat. That's not this Moorish American brother. What I'm saying is that whether we identify ourselves as Moorish, Timbuktuan, we got to do something to identify ourselves that connects us to a geographical location, a specific geographical location. And it doesn't matter where you are from, if you are a recipient or a descendant of the slaves, we come from a geographical location. And it could be a little bad, but let me tell you something. It says in the Holy Quran of Mecca that Allah says to a thing, be and it is. When are we going to become the gods and goddesses, self-identify ourselves, say be and it is, and we have a common golden thread that we agree upon and move as one force? That's what the Moorish Science Temple of America and the teachings of Prophet Noble Drew Ali represent. A united self-identification, not dependent upon Europeans validating it. We must self-identify ourselves to something that is concrete and not ambiguous. Black is an ambiguous term. You can be black ethnically if that's what you want to be, but as a legal construct, how the world is ran, the families of nation is ran, it doesn't work. That's just what it is. And I'm not trying to be offensive, but that's just what it is. It doesn't work. When you look at the United Nations, on every seat in the United Nations, there is a flag to represent that nation. What are we missing?
Well, the Moorish Science Temple of America said the Moorish flag is a red flag with a 5-pointed green star. Not the Moroccan flag. The Moroccan flag is an adulteration of the Moorish flag. And there's a lesson on that. However, where is the flag for the Negro? Where is the flag for the black? Where is the flag for... So in order, I'm thinking y'all get it. Y'all getting it? So in order to move forward, we must create the legal construct that's consistent with the families of nation. Before any other thing is uncivilized, because we don't live in that world no more, where ambiguity doesn't matter. It matters. It truly matters. And that's the message of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Now I'm going to talk and I can go long, but I want to let my brother take it from here. And I thank you for your time. Thank you to my brother Malik Z Shabazz and all of those that gave me here today. Peace and love, family.
Thank you so much, Brother Tahaka Bey. I personally want to thank Attorney Malik Z Shabazz for inviting us and to make sure that we're included as a part of the family, because we are a part of the family. I also want to thank Chairman Hashim Nzinga and also the Black Panther Party for inviting us. I want to greet you all in the greeting words of peace and paradise of Assalamu alaikum. Black power to you. Again, as Moorish Americans, we're proud to be here, and what we're here to do is to introduce something that we think will be constructive and productive to the conversation. How many people actually know that they are part of Africa that's not even claimed? This unclaimed area of Africa that's considered terra nullius. That means nobody's land. It's larger than 25 countries. It's larger than St. Kitts. It's larger than Hong Kong. It's larger than many nations here. And it's an unclaimed territory. It's unpopulated. And we want to introduce into the conversation an actual territory that we can claim for our own. Brother Silky Slim had said that he was from Louisiana. And I happened to travel all over the country, and one of the plantations that I went to was the Whitney Plantation, which is right outside of New Orleans. And when you go to the Whitney Plantation, it's one of the few slave plantations in this nation. So everybody, if you're gonna make might just turned off.
The power just went out. Go ahead. What's going on? No.
Testing. So I was saying that I went to the Whitney Plantation, which was in New Orleans, and everyone should go to that plantation. It's so important because if you're going to make a pilgrimage, no need to make your pilgrimage to Mecca. You take a pilgrimage to find out where our ancestors went to and what we went through as a people. That should be our priority first. So as you go to the Whitney Plantation, you look on the walls, and they have over 100,000 names on the walls. And next to the names on the walls, they have the nationality of those people. It'll say Congo Nation. It'll say Nard Nation. It'll have Senegalese Nation. And you have ambassadors from Senegal that will go to that wall and go and identify the people that they came from. And they go and they pay homage to the ancestors. The ambassadors will go and do that. We have the photos of them doing that. But that was the first thing that was stripped from us when we came here to America, was our nationality. After our nationality was stripped from us, they would take our manhood. This is what they explain to you as soon as you go to the plantation. They would take the biggest black man, and they would make sure that they brought him out in front of everyone, and they would take his manhood. So for us to come here at the Black Men's Convention, it's a restoration of multiple things right now. We're standing up as men, and we're standing up for our nationality. Because both of these things work hand in hand, and they were the first things taken from us when we arrived on these shores. So what we have the opportunity to do today is to introduce into the lingua franca, into this conversation, that we can reclaim our nationality with something that was stolen from us. So the United Nations has said that the United States is guilty of ethnic terrorism. I don't think that we really need to waste any more time even speaking with the United States. The United States, we have had bills on the record for almost 30 years now, HR 40. And the first thing that they're requesting in this at least just to look into it. They're not even looking into reparations for us for 30 years now. And the first thing usually on the 10-point reparation request is an apology. We're not dealing with a human being. We're not dealing with human beings. I hate to break that to you. A human being is not even going to be willing to give you an apology for slavery. So we don't need to even be talking to these people. We need to be talking to our own families, our African families. We need to be making our proposals to the African Union and to the United Nations. But you know what? We will redress America, but we don't need to address America. We don't need to give them the power to tell us no, or we don't want to talk to you. We don't need to talk to them because the votes of African nations acknowledging us as a nation is just as valid as the United States or anyone else. It's the same as an 18-year-old's vote. It's the same as a 90-year-old's vote. As long as African nations are acknowledging us as a nation, that's all that we need. And from there, we can move on internationally. We still have our American identity and our American nationality. We're born here, and we have a vested interest in blood, sweat, and tears here. So we don't have to give that up if we don't choose to. We can have dual citizenship. So we have the rights, and we're here to exercise our rights as Moorish Americans. I was blessed to walk with Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad in a key time of his life, when a whole lot of people had turned their backs on him. A whole lot of people were not giving him proper support. And I know for a fact the people that he loved and the people that he did support. And I thank Allah that they would see something in me that they would invite us to come and participate in a day like this. So I want to thank you and to let you know that we as the Moorish Americans here, we support you, we love you, and we're going to introduce our proposals into this United Nations conversation. And I want to leave you as I greeted you in peace. Assalamu alaikum. What we're going to do right now is we're going to freestyle until Brother Malik comes up to the rostrum. No. But what we can do also is if we have specific questions or while we're getting something set up, we'll be happy to answer some questions perhaps that you may have. And if there's something that Allah blesses us with, we'll be happy to share that with you. Yes, sister, I see you have a question. William Salam. Yes, ma'am. The name of the country that I was speaking about is called Birtawil. 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 It's one of the few places here on the earth that's not claimed by anyone. And this place is so key because it is a part of Sudan and it's also a part of Egypt. And it's not claimed by either one because if either one claims this particular nation-sized land, they would lose a larger amount of land. So it's an automatic insulation. And when you think about this, sister, it's like this. If you had a gaping hole in your neck and it was on your artery, you would bleed out. Is that right? This gaping hole of Africa is not claimed by anyone, and Africa is suffering. Who else has more of a right to land and territory in Africa than us, the sons and daughters of Africa? You've had white people try to come and claim the area. They come and plant a flag and say that it's mine. You have this little Hindu guy come up and try to do the same. But we have a vested interest in this. And none of them have approached the United Nations with this. But we have an established territory and a blood right to Africa. And again, we still are not giving up our land here in America, but we have a right to African soil. And for us, I'm not trying to go against anyone who says that they want to go and join another nation, but I've been to Africa multiple times, and there's sometimes where they do treat us a little differently. And why should we pick up, we have second-class citizenship here. Why would we go to second-class citizenship somewhere else where they have nicknames for us, or they're charging us more, they're treating us differently? We deserve to be living in peace. We deserve a place where we can communicate with one another. So that's all that we're trying to say. We're trying to say, look, we don't have to worry about a Wakanda. We know that it's going to take a lot of work. but we can create a nation of our own, and we have the materials and the minds and the talents. And we can go to Akon, give us that water. Go to Jay-Z, give us the electricity. Go to our engineers, go to our agriculturalists. And we can do this because the Honorable Marcus Garvey told us that we can do this. And Prophet Noble Drew Ali told us that we can do this. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that we can do this. And I believe that we can do this. And Dr. Collins said that we can do this. Somebody had their hand up over here? Yes, sir, brother.
I'm John Cheeks. I'm the Executive Director of USCRIA.
Peace and blessings, brother.
We only focus on recovery and reparations for our people. This nation or country that you're talking about, Africa, is it what type of terrain, land it is? I'd like to know about it.
It's a tough terrain. It's an upper part of Sudan, and it's a part of Egypt. So it's not. We definitely have to have agriculturalists to come in and to make the land fertile. It's a small model of fertility there, but it's not very fertile land. It takes work.
No forest?
No forest.
Rivers, lakes?
No rivers, no lakes, no water that's actually found as far as the river access. It's the nations that are around it.
Okay.
So we have to dig and find it.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Brother Malik back? Yes, sir. Brother Malik Zulu Shabazz is back.
All right. I wasn't here, but I know Taharka Bey was up here teaching and firing it up, so give him a black hand. I already know it. Because he has that teaching and he has a personality and he's got all those things. But what he has even beyond that, he has an administrative and a take care of business mindset. And that's why these are the Moors that will get the rest of the Moors on board with the building of a nation of our own, a government of our own. Now, we're going to take it to a new level. I want to bring on to you one of my teachers in human rights. I want to bring on to you, you have some paperwork for me? I want to bring on to you the American Institute of Human Rights. American Institute of Human Rights. They just come back from diplomatic missions at the United Nations on our behalf. Yes, they have. Let's give them a hand. One of my mentors and teachers in the field of human rights and self-determination is attorney and Dr. Mustafa Al-Ansari. That's right. He too is a product of the legacy of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. That's right. He too, Mr. Ansari, is from that legacy. Mustafa Al-Ansari, he too is from Malcolm's legacy. Malcolm took our cause to the United Nations. Malcolm X was ahead of his time. We may have various opinions on the history and the legacy of Minister Malcolm X, but one thing on this day that we can agree on is that when Malcolm X took our cause internationally, way back in 1964, that he was ahead of time.
Yes, sir.
Now in 2018, we have those that are carrying on those legacies. Dr. Mustafa Al-Ansari is a member of the International Chief Bar Association and a facilitator of the African Descendant Confederation. Sister Elena Porter is an educator and a certified human rights defender and a member of the American Institute of Human Rights. Listen carefully. A certified human rights defender. Well, what is a certified human rights defender? We're going to find out. Elena specializes in indigenous status, decolonization, humanitarian and refugee law. Also with us is Miss Cecile Johnson. Did I get that right? Cecilia Johnson, who is a researcher and a certified human rights defender. Sisters and brothers, I'm going to bring on to you my friends. I want to bring on to you my allies. I want you to receive them as family. And I want you to know that they are giving all that they can to bring about sovereignty, nationalization, reparations, decolonization for our people. They are our friends. They are professionals. And I want you to pay careful and close attention because this thing is about to get heavy up in here. Is that right? I know we come to the conferences and y'all used to jump in and holler, and we need that. But now we got to get down to business. This is a conference. This is a convention where we must have outcomes and we must have resolutions that will last down the wheel of time. We're going to come out of this convention and coming out of here today, your hope, your vision, the strategic plan for taking our struggle to the next level and achieving land, achieving territory, achieving that which we said we want into an actual reality. This is a very important day, and this is the most important session of this convention. So don't look for a lot of dancing. Don't look for the moonwalk. We have been entertained for over 400 years. We have had the most charismatic, acrobatic leaders and speeches that we could ever have, and all of that's part of it. But now we have to get about the administration of building a nation. We have to get about right now. Like attorneys, and we have scheduling orders. We got to get on schedule and on time. We don't have time to waste. Everybody who's watching around the country, turn everything off. Focus your attention. You got to learn right now and know what is happening. This is no play day today. I want to bring on to you one of my mentors, my big brother, man that supports everything we do, and we support him, attorney and Dr. Mustafa Al-Ansari and his team from the American Institute of Human Rights. Bring these giants on. Let's bring them on.
Greetings and peace to everyone. Alito, Abaragani, Shalom, Salam Alaikum. I'll explain later as to why I used all of that, all of those greetings, because we are multiple ethnic people. We look through the crowd, we have all hues, we have many nations and running through our veins, and we'll explain as we go along, because that's going to be a part of the solution called indigenous rights, which is a very heavy absolute right to Aboriginal land. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our first presenter. She's Elena Porter. She's an excellent UN human rights defender. Me and Ms. Porter just came back from the United Nations, and we'll explain why that is important to moving this piece forward. So I would like to, right now at this time, introduce my very fine colleague, Ms. Elena Porter, UN Human Rights Defender.
Greetings, everyone. I hope my presentation finds everyone in peace and good health. I am an educator, and I am going to give you a few concepts and maybe even some terms I know you won't be able to remember, but you'll be familiar with these concepts as I go. I have about maybe 8 slides that I'm just going to go through. So if you can, if you have a pen or pencil and you feel like there's some notes you want to take, you might want to jot some stuff down, please feel free to do that. Okay. The objectives of this presentation is to clarify and discuss the meaning of self-determination in the context of Afro-descendants' identity, recognition, issues and problems concerning democracy, individual rights, and sustainable development, and to discuss and promote peaceful implementation of the right to self-determination. Right. Afro-descendants. This is a very important term and very tricky. So we have to be very careful when we use this term, who we're using this term with, when and where we use this term. So I came up with my own term. Because under ILO 169, Article 1, Paragraph 2, you identify who you are. No one else has a right to tell you who you are. That is your right. Under ILO 169, Article 1, Paragraph 2, my definition of Afro-descendant refers to a person of African descent, but not born or living in an African nation. Individuals commonly use the term for tribal and indigenous populations that migrated in waves before the invaders, as well as the descendants of an ancestors brought to the Western Hemisphere in the transatlantic slave trade. That is my definition of what an African descendant is. The human rights framework. The human rights framework places an obligation on governments to respect, protect, and fulfill rights. Respecting human rights requires that governments refrain from the actions that infringe on rights. Take positive steps to realize the enjoyment of rights and create conditions under which basic needs can be met. Moreover, the human rights framework calls on local, state, and federal governments to promote equality and non-discrimination and to address policies and processes that have a desperate impact. The right to self-determination, a very important concept, a very important term. The right to self-determination refers to the right of a people to determine their own destiny. The principle allows African descendants to choose its own political status, economic, cultural, and social development. Exercising the right to self-determination can result in outcomes ranging from independence through full integration within the state. The importance is in the right of choice. It is our right. We dictate who we are. We dictate our political configurations. We do what we want to do at this point. It is our right.
That's right.
The importance is the right of choice, so that the outcome of the people do not affect the existence of the right to make the choice. So when we have barriers, like unprincipled relationships on these local and state and federal levels that hinders our choice, that's a barrier. And we have to reaffirm we have a right to self-determine at this point. The legal basis for self-determination. Articles 1 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights and International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, Article 1, Paragraph 2 states, the purpose of the UN are to develop friendly relations among nations based on respect for the principle of equal rights and self-determination of peoples. That means we need to meet the United States government on equal footing. No more of these unprincipled relationships.
Talk to us.
Self-determination elevated to an unconditional right. That means no compromise. No more facilitating this policy of forced assimilation, because that's what all integration was. And I don't care who gets mad. We didn't have a vote. We were manipulated. So let's not glamorize integration anymore. It is what it is.
That's right.
In 1960, with the adoption of the Declaration on the Granting of Independence to Colonial Peoples, General Assembly, Resolution 1514, if you want to write that down, UN officials elevated self-determination to be the position of an unconditional right. So when these politicians come to you and ask you for their vote, ask them, where's their policy and where do they stand on self-determination?
That's right.
Where we control our wealth, resources, human capital, dictate our curriculum for our children. Ask them, what is your position on self-determination? And if they don't have one, then they need to keep it moving.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
This declaration and the declaration concerning the implementation on the right to self-determination, General Assembly Resolution 1514, 1960, affirms the right to immediate self-determination for peoples under alien, colonial, or oppressive domination, and call for a speedy and unconditional end to colonialism in all its manifestations. It stresses inadequacy of political, economic, social, or educational preparedness should never serve as a pretext for delaying independence. So we have been at least 5 decades behind time. 5 decades our inheritors have went to our oppressors because of an unprincipled relationship that's co-signed on our politicians and people who propose to represent us.
That's right. Sellouts. Sellouts. Sellouts.
The right to dispose of wealth. The International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights and the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, Common Article 1 states, all people have the right to self-determination. Article 1, Paragraph 2 notes that self-determination includes a right to dispose of wealth and resources, and that's economic self-determination. That's about our money.
Yes, right.
Our labor. Money. While Article 1, Paragraph 3 obliges state parties to the covenant to promote the realization of the right to self-determination. These conventions do not limit the right to self-determination to peoples classified as non-self-governing by the United Nations. That's all that I wanted to do, was clarify a few concepts and a few definitions. I'm going to turn our presentation over to my esteemed sister and comrade, who I have a lot of respect, and my esteemed spiritual father, mentor, and the Dean of the American Institute of Human Rights. Thank you.
Greetings, everyone. I bring you peace coming from Chicago. That's right. All right. So today I'm going to go a little bit into the meat of building power through the process of self-determination. The steps to building a nation. So, some people, for those who doubt 42 million Afro-descendant people should not be self-determined, let's look at the Europeans, right? The Europeans occupy 1/15 of the world's total land area, less than 7%, and they have less than 1/10 of the world's population. Yet they have more than 25 of the nations of the world in the UN, right? 25%. So 50 countries of the 193 member states at the UN are European nations. Now, when you look, you see that 41 of them have less population than we do. And it's clear when you look at some of their countries, they have 30, 40, 50, 100,000. And we have over 42 million people. And we question at times whether we should have self-determination, right? So let's go into what the state as a person is. The Montevideo Convention on the Rights and Duties of States, signed in December 26, 1933, says the state as a person of international law should possess the following qualifications. It should have a permanent population, a defined territory, should have a government, and it should have the capacity to enter into relations with other states. So what is nation building? Nation building is constructing or structuring a national identity using the power of the state. Nation building is the process through which these majorities are constructed. Right? So the first thing was a permanent population. You see we got one, right? That's right. All right. The second is a defined territory. These are the different types of states that we have to nationalize. Many of you live in cities, right, that are within a county, that are within a state, within the United States, okay? And so you look at a place like Washington, D.C., which is a majority black city, and they have, in the House of Rep, they have a district, is represented by a delegate who's not allowed to vote on the House floor, but can vote on procedural matters and in congressional committees, and they have no representation in the Senate. So we need to define our territory. So you get out your red pen, you begin to circle the areas with majority black populations, right? You begin to draw your boundaries. In that ward map that you see up there, that's where the black people live. We're on the south side and the west side, right? Our urban planners will look at the infrastructure needs. They'll be called districts and rezone based on the local parliament. This is a key concept. A confederation is a political strategy that changes configuration from a national minority to a majority in our own areas. When you're a majority in your own areas, then you run things. So the third piece is a government, right? A government is a body of persons that constitutes the governing authority of a political unit. Right? Like the U.S. has a government, like the state of Maryland got a government, like Prince George County got a government, like the city of Chicago got a government, right? Oops. So, again, a confederation is a political strategy that changes configuration from a national minority to a majority in our own areas. So the step one, you sign the Declaration of Self-Determination. Last October 1st in Tougaloo, Mississippi, a Declaration of Self-Determination was signed. Once we sign the declaration as a collective people, we will now have a juridical identity. A juridical identity is defined as a human being authorized by law with duties and rights, recognized as a legal authority having a distinct identity, a legal personality. You have to have that in order to take a case. We will be defined as African descendants until our parliament decides differently, if necessary. This makes us a declaratory nation, right? This gives us standing as a juridical people in domestic and international courts. We now have the authority to form an interim government. That's what that form looks like. Before you leave here today, you'll be seeing that form, a declared consent for self-determination and a request for decolonization, right? We need you to sign it. Step two, an interim government. This interim government now creates a national assembly. Representatives are chosen by the confederation groups and it's based on the population numbers. We discussed the Articles of Confederation, we signed the Articles of Confederation, and we have now perfected what we call the interim government. This interim government is selected, not elected. You get it? That's how they started this country, okay? So this interim government has a duty to then hold a plebiscite vote within a reasonable time. All African descendants within the boundaries can vote. And then this interim government will create the criteria to vote. So you can go to the website at addconfederation.com and be part of that census. The step 3, this interim government now has the duty and the authority to hold a plebiscite vote. What's a plebiscite? A plebiscite vote is a vote to determine the community's support for self-government. Right. It is an election to authorize the seating of a parliament who will form a constitution. The elective governmental assembly will have the ability to address remedies. All the brothers who have spoken before me today talk about the crisis and the conditions that we are in. What we need, people, is some remedies, right? And this is going to make our communities whole again. The elective government will now have the authority to begin negotiations with the United States to form what we call a free association. So, first we're going to building our nation by consent, and that's where we ask you to participate in the signing of that document and saying that you are part of agreeing that we have this Declaration of Self-Determination and in our bid to go before the Decolonization Committee, right? So this gives the African descendant population a power of authority. This takes us from an interim government to the seating of a constitutional government. This political move will increase our wealth to become the 12th wealthiest nation in the world based on GDP. Right now, we're leaving money on the table, right? The US monitors will be added to the UN monitors will be added to our monitors because we are also going to be training monitors, human rights monitors across the country during this process. This ties into the UN Working Group recommendations. They were here in 2016 and they gave a very scathing report of life and what it was like here for us, right? And said that the US owed the black population reparations. The UN group said that they can make recommendations, but the people on the ground have to take the steps to enforce them. You remember the brothers who came before? Everybody say, ain't nobody come to rescue you. You're going to have to rescue yourself. You have to become involved in the process. So that's what we're doing. The African descendants will need to decide what type of government they have. Some of you are familiar with parliamentary, presidential, or whatever. It's for the people to come together and decide. So this free association relationship, right? These are the issues. Free association means that a state manages its own law and has a special relationship with a majority independent state that will share its citizenship and provide economic assistance and defense. That's where we are right now with the United States. We will be dual citizens. So the things that we will be negotiating with the United States is national security, criminal justice matters, economic relations, reparations, communications, foreign affairs, diplomatic relations, immigration, environmental protection, interstate transportation, and money, right? Coin money. And so the African Descendant Confederation will be able to establish its local governments, raise taxes, establish and maintain our schools, right? Regulate trade between the Confederates, conduct elections, establish central bank, borrow money, provide for public safety, and provide for the public welfare, take care of our health and all of that. So this confederation will be a shared sovereignty. The United Nations and the intergovernmental bodies will provide assistance during this period to help establish our infrastructure. The American Institute of Human Rights will facilitate the process. So what we're doing, facilitating the process. So the US to the Confederation funding will be negotiated and reconfigured. Currently, the Confederation gets money, as you are right now, through federal dollars, come to state dollars, come down to members in different areas. The federal government will then be able to transfer money to the Confederation, similar to what the Native Americans, what we call Native Americans, go through. So the fourth element is the capacity to enter into relations with other states and other countries, right? And the recognition of this sovereignty has been described as the free act by which one or more states acknowledge the existence on a definite territory of a human society, politically organized, and that's what we've done, independent of any other, and is capable of observing the obligations of international law. Recognition grants the state and its sovereignty a character of international legitimacy, and consequently a capacity to enter into relations with other sovereign states. And we are asking our brothers out there in Africa and other countries where Afro-descendants and African descendants are, to recognize this. The Confederation will seek a compact of free association agreement with the United States so that it will be self-governed.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? The Confederation will seek a compact of free association agreement with the United States so that it will be self-governed. 42 million people need to govern themselves.
That's right.
So this is what it will look like. The African descendant path to self-determination, right? Right now we're in a declaratory nation because we have signed that Declaration of Self-Determination. So we're in a declaratory nation. What we will move to, when we finish building the Confederation, is the interim government, and from the interim government to a constitutional, democratic, free associational state. Okay? So we're moving from declaratory nation to interim government. So please sign the signature page that you see that we'll be giving out, right? And for those of you at home, go onto the website at confederation.com or africandevelopmentplan.org, right? So, do you understand what we're doing? Not trying, but we're doing it. You understand? Are you in support of that? Okay, so then we need you to sign. We need you to get educated, we need you to become informed. This is the most important thing we have done in the last 400 plus years, right? We're gonna rule ourselves. Thank you. Now we'll have Dr. Ansari come up and finish it up for you.
Thank you very much. Please give a round of applause to the great human rights defender, Leila Porter, and Cecile Johnson. Again, my name is Dr. Mustafa Ansari. I'm the chief facilitator of the Confederated Nation Configuration. What we're doing is reconfiguring our relationship with the United States, and we have the absolute right, you've heard it, that we have the absolute right to self-determination. Let's be clear on that. We have the absolute right to self-determination. Now I'm going to tell you where it came from. It came from Almighty God. Each of you have free will. This is human rights. You have free will. This free will says that you have the right to determine your existence. You have the right to choose and re-choose your nationality. And I'm not just saying that this is UN law that's in Article 3 of the American Convention, Article 27 of the UN Declaration. This is our absolute right. It comes from God. It's called a God-given right. These are our natural rights. We can only give up this right by consent. This is why we're asking you to sign the declaration. Because you give us power to give you power. That is the reason for the declaration. That's the reason why they have elections and votes. This is an election to be a self-determining people, and that's why it's important for this step. Now, so far we have nearly 80 organizations. We have 2 law associations. We have 8 attorneys, 4 of them international lawyers. We have just associated with the Black Lawyers for Justice, Malik Z, Shabazz. We also is associated with the International Black International Lawyers from Chicago, who won the only reparations case against the city of Chicago, $30 million for torching black men in Chicago. So we have very able bodies to be able to navigate us through this process to self-determination, through the process of being a declaratory nation, which we already are at this point. We're asking you to sign to add on to the power that we have, because it takes collective power and it takes collective effort. That's why I'm glad that Brother Silis Muhammad is in the house, because this brother had been going to the United Nations for the last 15 years. He didn't have to do that. He did that so that we can be in the place that we are in at the present time.
Yes, sir.
We are happy to have all of you here to participate with this process. It's going to take a joint effort, a collective effort. It's going to take a collective effort of the Moors who are confederated. We have several Moors in the house. Raise your hand from Florida. Prince Jamal from Florida. Came all the way from Florida. We have Moors here. We've been talking. We're going to confederate. We have several Muslim groups. We have 8 Black Indian nations. Yes, very good. And we just came back from the United Nations with an ability to create a great confederation with many of our native people. Now, I'm going to tell you something right now about our history so that you understand why I greeted you in several different languages. We are indigenous to this country. What this means is that the first population wave into the Americas was an African population. We're talking about 30 to 60,000 years ago. That's right. We have, and I'm not telling you from my just definition, I'm talking about scientific fact, the best evidence. Malik Z Shabazz can tell you about the best evidence rule. The best evidence is the actual body. We have the body of an ancient African woman and 13 of her relatives that was down 13 tons down under the ground in Brazil. This was 1975. So I understand that between where we came from, and I was a member of the Nation of Islam and a member of the Elijah Muhammad, and studied very well. Science changes a lot, just like law. Law changes every day. Every time that these guys go up to the White House and go around the Congress and they enact the law, it changes every day. Every time the UN goes into session and comes out with another understanding, another rule, it changes. So what changed in 1975 is the discovery of these ancient bones. So now we had to reevaluate and readjust to have an understanding that the people called Indians are us. We made them. It wasn't until 3,000 to 10,000 years later, and maybe longer, that the Asian admixtures came in. And I say Asian admixtures because we found out that they didn't come from China, they came from Taiwan. And if you look at the ancient Taiwanese, they look like us.
That's one.
So what we're talking about is that we, as lawyers, what our job is to do is to tie the facts to the law. That's what we do. So the facts of these bones and 12 other evidences, indicators of evidence, folklore, we had metallurgical, well, because when they dig into the earth and you find minerals around it, and you see how far the earth is down, you can tell the dates. They used craniology, looked at the crane, looked at the eye sockets to determine that this was an African woman and her entourage that was down there. In fact, if we dig down here, in this ground here, up under us right at the stage, maybe in about 2 layers, we'll see the last transatlantic wave of our African ancestors under this earth right here. But we found out also that it was not that many came over in the transatlantic slave trade. There was only 388,000 over 200 years. That means that there was only 12 to 1,500 imports of Africans during the transatlantic slave trade that was generalized among 12 states. So there was not that many new African imports that came into the United States. I know that sounds different, but it's not my facts, it's the ship logs. You know, so as a lawyer, what did I do? I have to look at the facts and combine it with the law. So this understanding now says, well, if it was only 388,000 that was imported into the United States, I'm not talking about everywhere else, I'm talking about in the United States during this time, how did at the end of the Civil War there was 4 million? Legislation, I like apartheid legislation that would look at the Indian and see that he looked like us and knew that he had to divide us, so he called them Negro and colored. And then he mated with our women, and then a new people came up to call mulatto. So this is a new generation, a mulatto especially, this is new. Over 400 years, we look around the room, we see many shades. It didn't come by happenstance. In you are Native Americans, in you are the various African tribes, in you are the Europeans as well. This is a new people that was found, well, that has accrued jurisdiction, indigenous jurisdiction, because they was born on this earth. This is the facts mixed with the law. It says under the elements of indigenous status, the first peoples. Lucia, that was the name that was given to the oldest woman called Lucia. This was the first, we were the first people, was the African. The second, it was 4 population waves. The second population wave was, guess where it came from? It came from Egypt. All over America we find the evidence. What's the evidence? We find Kufic scripture based upon rocks that were found near the Olmec statues. Oh, I'm talking about the Olmec now, right? The Olmec were where? They were in Mexico. Big statuettes that look like us, big black men. Yeah. By the Kufic statues, and this was Dr. Ivan Van Sertima, a giant in this type of ancient genealogy, this type of ancient history, and how to evidence who a people was by looking at artifacts. That's another aspect of evidence. By listening to folklore, listening to the linguistics, looking at the scripts. We work on evidence. And we look at the evidence and we combine it with law, and the law says that the indigenous people elements are the first people, are those closely associated with the first people, are indigenous. So when we talk about separation, and it's a separation from them, but not a separation from America, because America is ours. It's ours. This is our land. We have the right to dual citizenship. We have the right to dual citizenship. In fact, we have the right to 3 passports. We have the right to the American passport, we have the right to the passport that we can create among ourselves, and we have the right to the African passport as well. So we are unique people that are very powerful. And in the African folklore, it has that we are the ones that will come back to change the world. So if you go to Africa, and I lived in Africa too, they're looking at us like Joseph of the Bible and of the Quran. It says that was sold into slavery, but then became prominent and knowledgeable, and then came back to help. That's in the African folklore. So when we go to Africa, they look up to us, especially the intellectuals, because they know we're coming back. The same, and we look at our resources of our engineers, our lawyers, our economists. We can see that we are the people. We are the most technical people, most technological Africans in the entire world, and the Africans know it. The South Americans know it. Everyone knows that. So what we're doing today is the fulfillment of destiny. That's inevitable. We are the ones. And we're doing it right now. So as we go through this process, we are going to be put upon and put into a position, because as my colleague Cecile Johnson said, after we make this decision, it's just a decision we have to make. It's just documents that we're asking you to sign. As we go through this process, that process will make us the 12th wealthiest nation in the entire world. We may be poor individually, but collectively we're very wealthy. And so because of that, we have configured a strategy, a political strategy. One of my talents is that I'm a political strategist. We have configured a confederation that would include all of you and all of us that are on the stage, Moors, Muslims, Hebrewites, as long as you're an African descendant, you are part, or could be part of the confederation based upon your consent. That is power. So what we come is to give power. Okay. Please start at the top. I see, way too far. Okay, so we are now into exploring the United Nations development practices of self-determination to be able to get into this position. Next slide, please. The United Nations Development Assistant participants in this process will be our confederated government of Afro-descendants, our African descendants, either one, same, synonymous. It would be the UN country team that would assist us in bringing the United States to the table, because these are three-party associations. So now we talk not superior to inferior, but government to government, man to man, woman to woman. We are equals. Next slide. The three goals of the UNDAF is to solidify our indigenous status, which gives us unfettered right to land, because Aboriginal indigenous people will have a superior right to the land. Why? Because the colonialists are belligerent occupiers of our land. So we have the superior title to this land that we're on right now, that this White House sits on. This is our land. Yes. We have the right to it. And this is what our negotiations and our reparative measures are going to come out of. This is the process of reparations called self-repair. When you sign on that you want the right to self-determination, you are self-repairing yourself for now and for generations to come. This is permanent. This is permanent. No going back. This is permanent. Our right to self-determination will include an economic development plan that will be developed by our sitting parliament, which is called parliamentary leadership, no more one-man leadership. This will be a parliamentary leadership, a very grown-up, modern way to do business, especially when we're talking about 42 million people. We need a lot of minds on this to find out and understand how to repair us from what my brother Silky Slam says so eloquently, from that kind of disaster to being able to sustain the position of the 12th wealthiest nation in the world. To go up that far has to have a plan. So first, the Confederation deals with internal recognition as indigenous people and with all other indigenous peoples. So we have other indigenous tribes that have documented have more documents than we have been allowed to gather. We have a relationship with the United States, arm to arm, man to man, across the table from relationship. No more man to boy calling us at 60 years old a boy. No, we have a man to man relationship that is strong. Why? Because there's 42 million of us, and we can sit and unseat whoever's sitting in that White House. Because we got a block vote, we have dual citizenship. So we have the power to seat and unseat governors. So now we're extremely strong. We can sit and unseat Supreme and have influence over who's going to be in the Supreme Court, who's going to be in Congress. This is what they're scared of, is that we'll finally wake up and get ourselves together and understand our power. So what we come to today with this configuration of confederation is power. This gives us tremendous power.
Yes, sir, that's right.
So we're talking about political and economic self-determination. The creation of an autonomous legislative body, our parliament. And a standing now to bring our reparations claims. We never had that before. We never had, every time that anyone attempted to go to a court or to the United Nations, they said, well, who do you represent? How can you represent them? You don't have standing. Who gave you authority to represent them? This paper that we're sending around gives us the authority or the standing to represent our entire confederated nation. So now we can bring claims, something that has been barred to us because of our misunderstanding of how to do this. Next slide, please. The constitutional structure, and this could be changed by our parliament, but we are looking to sit a national assembly, have a state consultative assemblies. This means that in every state, from Illinois to Alaska to Florida to California, will have a state legislature that will send a member or two to the federal legislature, which is our governing body, federal governing body. The states would govern themselves, and we would federally have federal authority on issues that we can rule on. We have a Supreme Court, we have to have a court. So we have a Court of Appeals, and we have various state courts. Go to the next slide, please. This was my teacher. This was a contemporary of the Honorable Malik Shabazz. This is Dr. Yusuf Clyde, the giant of international law that held the first international self-determination conference in the United Nations. He held it in Geneva. This is who taught us. We create autonomous boundaries. This is why the sister said take out your red pens, because we have to look and see what areas that we can control, which is the majority areas that we reside in. We can control them under the United States law as well as under international law. This is how it works. That's why we've been chunked down to being a minority, a simple minority, instead of being a collective people. Since simple minority people always lose. Why? Because this is a white majority state. So we're always going to lose in the configuration that we're in now. That's why we had to reconfigure it. This establishes our international power and national power. And they would be, this body would be in charge of our administration of national trust fund and taxes. Next slide, please. We would sit in assembly and deal with all of the areas that we need to deal with in our states, our educational funds to retrain our children, because our children right now are being mercilessly and genocidally destroyed. This is why they're so, because we haven't did this. That's why they're fatalistic, because they said the grown people didn't look out for us. Let us into a world where the white man can get to us. So they lost respect for us. This is how we get our children to lift up their pants. This is how we get our children to be good students. Because now they have something to strive for. Many of our children are fatalistic and suicidal because they don't have it, and they know that they don't have an environment to come in because we haven't created one for them. But that day is gone. We will now pick up our families, our children, our women, our elderly, our juveniles, and we would look after them like grown people should. We will be able to rehabilitate them. We have set aside funds to rehabilitate them from what has occurred in these streets from Louisiana to Chicago to New York to Washington, D.C. We'll be able to rehabilitate them and make them dignified children now that will turn into dignified adults, that will lead a dignified life, that would have to be able to move this into the future. This piece right here is for our children. This is for them. This is for them and their children. This is permanent. And their children. We have turned the corner. This is what we have to deal with. Land reclamation. Reclaiming the land that is already ours. Rehabilitation, housing. We have to deal with housing because we have, many of us are living in so-called in their house. Now we have to reclaim those houses, we have to reclaim the land, and now we have to house all of our people. They're vulnerable. We have elderly that are homeless, we have children that are homeless, we have girls that are out on the street petting so they can live in a hotel for one day. They become hooked on crack. It's a pitiful state that we have to dig into in order to build out of. And we have figured out that structure. And it's a confederation, which means a collective effort of collective power. We deal with the criminal justice system. We have many of us that are suffering, 1 million of us suffering in the prison. We would take control, our authority over there during the transition period. We would talk about power transfers, transferring them into our authority so we can revisit their cases, because many of them have been innocent. And those that are not, we have to rehabilitate them so that they can be good citizens, so they can come back to our neighborhoods and be good fathers, good mothers, so that we can come up as a dignified people. The whole world is waiting on us. The United Nations have came here twice, but they can't do anything without us doing it for ourselves. So we are reconfiguring this piece so that we can explain to them what we want as our remedy. And our remedy is the reclamation of land and the reclamation of authority, and to make that devil recognize us. We are true people that are entitled, again this word, to self-determination. Next slide. We do this through going to you. No more voting. Well, you got to vote. You're not civil rights people. You got to vote. We vote for ourselves. So in this, we vote in every state for who we want to be our leaders, who we want to represent ourselves. And we have in each state of our confederation a way to look out and to negotiate who is going to be and what measures should be taken by our election. So we elect the people or the person in every city and state that you think can do the job. Then that person has a time to perform and make sure that he does the job, which is rehabilitation, education, transportation, health and welfare, to make sure, and police power, to make sure everything is operating properly. Next slide, please. Our economic development plan has to be sound. And this is what we are looking for, a sound economic plan. Next slide, please. Afrodescendant sustainable development. These are terms that would allow us to sustain ourselves into plans by our engineers so that we can develop and sustain ourselves. This process will deal with not only our farming areas, but our urban areas. It's a total plan. Next slide. This is a full process and plan by our best experts, by our best professionals who would deal with our children when they're in Head Start. We're going to deal with our children from 5 and 6 years old. We got one brother that can teach our children to read between 3 and 5. So we're going to bring our best educators in to teach with a good curriculum. Kindergarten through 12, we're going to change that curriculum so we no longer bow down and think about Thomas Jefferson and George Washington. Now we can talk about ourselves and create and have our own curriculum of our own leaders. This is how we regain that thing called self-esteem. Our colleges we take over, our postgraduates, and we deal with our single parents, again, our juvenile, elderly, long-term employed, and our ex-offenders. Next. Family reconciliation is key. 70% of our sisters are single and are carrying our children. We have to stop this. We have to stop this. We have to rehabilitate our families so our best professionals are going to be able to engage them, to be able to deal with our children so that we can go into rehabilitation. We rehabilitate ourselves. We know how to do that better than them trying to rehabilitate us. Our youth values are in the gutter. We get a chance now, since we have their attention, since we have their respect now, to change their values from what they are now to what they should be. Community housing, educational, vocational training, all that is in our hands now. We are the ones to look at our destiny and to recover to our particular way of life and how we want this society to be. Next slide, please. The establishment of high technology. We have a lot of scientists that can create energy from the sun, can store it in batteries that can outlast the current batteries that are on the market. We have them now, I know them personally, that can spray down roads with a hose that are permeable to sand and to water and last for 50 years. We have that technology with our scientists right now, our black scientists, our African descendant scientists right now.
Yes, sir.
We can do this. And we are going to do this as a model to our entire world in Africa, South America, Central America. We are the ones. We are the ones.
Yes, sir.
Next slide. A positive plebiscite vote will allow us to make treaties with these people, agreements with these people for success, arm to arm, man to man, woman to woman negotiations. No more talking down to us. We have the power. Land treaties, engaging into negotiation for land treaties, not only in our urban areas, in our cities, but in our rural areas. What land is ours? We're going to draw boundaries. We've been engaged in a dual sovereignty agreement with them. Man to man, woman to woman, arm's length agreements. We have that power. We have the power to sit and unseat presidents. We have the power to sit and unseat representatives because now we are a collective force. We'll be able to enter into international treaties with our brothers in Africa. We'll open up that trade pipeline that everybody's been dreaming of. So we'll cut out that middleman, that white man, that Chinese man, and we will be able to trade with our brothers in Africa, in the Caribbean, South America, Central America, through a big pipeline. This increases wealth for all of us. Everyone is waiting for this. We are the ones.
Teach, doctor. Teach us, doctor.
We take care of international trade. We've been in charge of land and oil that's sprouting up out of Africa and on our reserves here. Diamonds. Our brothers have the best diamonds in the world in Africa, and they're selling it. I had a brother that was one of my colleagues. We was engaged in a little diamond trade in Sierra Leone. We said, well, ask them about diamonds. They brought paper bags full full of diamonds to him in his hotel room. We have diamonds that you don't have to dig for. They're on top of the ground, we that rich. But they're selling it to the white man and to the Jew man for little or nothing because they don't have a way to come to the direct market. That time is coming to an end. Absolutely. Control over the real estate. No longer leasing from that Jew man, no longer leasing from that white man. We have the real estate. We control that. That's the power that we have. That is called the implementation of self-determination.
That's right. Go.
Next slide. Almost through. So if you say yes to declaring self-determination, you give us the power to do this. You give us the power, we give you back the power to do this, to change things, to reconfigure this, to go around that man and go directly to all the other nations in the world. It may be 50 nations that are European, but that means that there's 143 that are not, that we know will vote for us. We have a clear win. We have no problem with winning. We just haven't been able to get up to the courthouse, to the rostrum, because we didn't have standing. But now we will have standing. Next. We would have the ability to use the General Assembly in the United Nations and courts to pursue any kind of impediments or any bars from the United States if they try to say no to us. That's not a final no anymore. The buck doesn't stop at the Supreme Court anymore. That is out. We go straight to the United Nations, which is a new court, and most of them look like us.
Yes, sir.
So no more foolishness. This is why they're against the United Nations. Oh, the United Nations can't do it. Because they know that they lose there. They may win here, in that house, in that White House, but they don't lose in the United Nations. We can do that. We have our brothers in African, Asian, Islamic countries there who are waiting to vote for us. The UN Working Group Geneva is waiting to intercede in our behalf. We need standing. Give us standing.
Yes, sir.
We will give you the power. We will change what we are doing now into what we could be, which is the 12th wealthiest nation in the world and be a dignified people. Give us that power. This is what we're suffering now with civil rights. The lowest denominator is the billions of dollars under civil rights. That's the really little one. The next one is affirmative action, which is dead anyway. Gave us a little bit of more action. What we do for ourselves, we go all the way to the top.
Yes, sir.
Black wealth.
Black wealth. We're not poor at all. We're rich, and we don't know it. Next slide. I think this. Billions of dollars per year, transfer courts, the prisoners, the prisons, and the police departments into our authority.
That's right.
This is what we're doing. Transferring the housing and the health and education and the welfare of our children, our juveniles, our mothers, and our fathers into our authority. That's what self-determination is. That's how we implement self-determination. That's what we do. Next one. The UN Declaration on Decolonization, I was so happy when everyone put up, a lot of people put up their hands, they know what decolonization is because that's our first step. We're going into the Decolonization Committee to be decolonized and be put on a list that we should have been put on in 1960 when the African and Asian nations became free. And when Malcolm said, you know about that Bandung conference? This was a conference in which the African and Asians locked the white man out and decided what they wanted to do, and they decolonized.
Yes, sir.
We have that right because we are indigenous people. And if we are indigenous people, who are they?
Invaders.
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 If we are indigenous people, who are they? Absolutely. We decolonize, and we're filing in October. We're going to be at the hearing in October to be put on that list. The Convention on Civil and Political Rights, all of the conventions give us the right to inherit right, understand our constitutional right to self-determination. We're going to exercise it. This is under international laws and rights and protections that are totally in our favor. Next. Yeah. Okay. This is an advanced level. We're going to have a panel discussion afterwards, questions and answers afterwards. We're here to answer all your questions. We know the process backwards and forwards. We know the implementations, we know the steps, and this is what has been lacking, and this is what we provide. And we are training, and our aim is to be able to seek 40 more attorneys and 120 to 200 more UN human rights monitors. So our lawyers, we're going after them to be retrained, and our monitors who have advanced criminal justice degrees, who have advanced political science degrees, we want to retrain them so that they can monitor the human rights violations, report back to us so that we can resolve these issues. We have the power. We have the power. So, we appreciate this time. We're your servants. We work here. We work for you. We're facilitators. We're not leaders. We're going to facilitate this process among the various leaders from the different communities, from the Moorish community, from the Hebrew Israelites community, from all of those communities, from the Indian community. We are the facilitators, not the leaders. We're the facilitators. We're lawyers, we're educators, and we're going to guide this process through the United Nations like it's supposed to be guided. I thank you for your time. Greetings, peace, and I leave you with Assalamu alaikum, my brother.
Get on your feet and give them a round of applause. Please. Please, from the American Institute of Human Rights. Give them a round of applause, a strong, come on. We're talking about moving from talk to self-determination in a nation of our own. All right, let's get settled now. Let's get settled now. Because we've had a lot of giants amongst us. Every night here, every day of the National Black Men Convention, we have had giant after leader from this rostrum. At the White House yesterday, where we cooked Donald Trump behind out there. At the White House, back here, uncompromising leadership, dedicated leadership, and I have to be honest, when the Honorable Silis Muhammad talked about friendships in all walks of life, that's how I'm feeling over these last 5 days. I feel like we are, you are, I am blessed with friendships in all walks of black life. Huh? All the organizations, all of the leaders, they've all been here. What is your job, Mr. Shabazz? I'm like Shaka Zulu. I'm like Shaka Zulu. My job is to fight hard to pull all the tribes together. My job is a diplomatic job, but it's a warrior job. And it is a job to make sure that Dr. Leonard Jeffries can make a deal with the Honorable Silis Muhammad. My job is to make sure that the American Institute of Human Rights can make a deal with the new Black Panther Party. My job is to make sure that the daughter of Minister Malcolm X can make deal with all of the organizations that she have been unacquainted with. My job is to help bring all the tribes together. You can't have self-determination We can't have a nation divided. We can't have a bunch of bones scattered in the valley, dry bones scattered in the valley. Something has to bring us together. That is my motive. You want to know my motive? The purpose. The reason why we went through all kind of expenses and things that normal persons without faith wouldn't even dream of doing to bring all these leaders around the country. I stepped out here and we stepped out here on faith. Knowing that if faith the size of the grain of a mustard seed can move a mountain, and today this mountain is going to be moved. I want to introduce to you now a man that I have the highest amount of respect for. I want to introduce to you a man that has dedicated his entire life to the establishment of the human rights and self-determination for our people. Yes, sir. I want to introduce to you a man who has been places and fought for us. We didn't even know the battle was being fought, yet he was in the trenches fighting for us on the battlefields and behind enemy lines. I want to introduce to you a man of character, a man of principle, a man of consistency, a man who the Honorable Silis Muhammad, if he were here, would be most proud of. Matter of fact, I want to introduce to you a man, when I hear him talking, when I hear his rhythm, when I hear his cadence, he reminds me of Elijah. I'm not lying to you, I gotta be honest. I want to introduce to you a man that is unheralded, unfortunately even overshadowed. But I ask you tonight, why not Silis? Why not Silis? I think about that sometimes all night. I say, why not Silis? What's wrong with the Honorable Silis Muhammad? Why we have to stay away from him? Why we can't embrace him? Why we can't hear what he has to say? Look at his followers. You judge a tree by the fruit it bears. When I see the fruit of Islam, of the lost found nation of Islam, they remind me of my grandfather's nation of Islam, the black Muslims. And I get a certain feel from them. They are good people. They are honorable people. And everybody who's watching this webcast, it's into the tens of thousands now. And all of my friends, all of my allies, everybody I know and connected with, I want you to embrace the followers of the Honorable Silis Muhammad. I want to embrace to you these good sisters, these righteous sisters, these upright people. They are good people and they are part of our nation and they are fighting for us, and we need to recognize them. We need to appreciate them. American Institute of Human Rights, Dr. Ansari. Brilliant, visionary, ahead of time. My dear brother, my friends are your friends, and your friends are my friends. And whatever I have, they're here for you. The Honorable Silis Muhammad, my friends are your friends. And whatever I have and whatever I achieved in life, I'm here to lay it also at your footsteps. It is here for you. And as we move towards a nation of our own and self-determination, I don't want you to think it's not going to be a walk in the park. It's not going to be easy. There are going to be challenges, but through love, as Dr. Cornel West teaches us, through the ultimate love of our people for each other, we can overcome all obstacles. Love, they say, conquers all. Now they ask me the question, now why are you pushing Silis Muhammad, Malik Zulu, Shabazz? I saw you all these years with Minister Louis Farrakhan. Why would you be pushing Silis Muhammad? the Honorable Silis Muhammad, and they just say Silis Muhammad. Let me say this. I ain't up in here picking sides. I ain't up in here gang banging. I ain't up in here set tripping. I want self-determination, and I want to deal with people that are serious. This man is serious. And when you're serious, I'm serious, and serious meets serious, and we got to get down to business. I'm asking the followers of Louis Farrakhan who are watching. I'm asking them as children of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I'm asking all of the children of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to put aside their differences and come together like the messenger wanted them to come together. All of y'all need to put that down and come to the table. Put down the differences. It ain't but one nation of Islam, and I'm in the nation of Islam too. I'm in the nation of Islam. And you cannot put me out, and you cannot drive me out. For the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said his best followers is out here in the streets. The Honorable Khalid Muhammad, when Dr. Khalid Muhammad passed, before he passed, when he was struggling, and when he needed an ally, it was Mr. Silis Muhammad who embraced us. It was Mr. Muhammad who put an umbrella around us. It was Mr. Muhammad who offered even to send my brother Dr. Khalid to law school. And Khalid Muhammad, yeah. That's right. Talk about it. Talk about it. And Dr. Khalid Muhammad came to me one day and said, Brother Silis Muhammad asked me about going to law school. What do you think? It was at times when Khalid Abdul Muhammad needed security and protection. It was the fruit of Islam from the lost found nation of Islam that came to us on many nights when we had nobody. I can't lie. I got to testify. I got to tell the truth up on here. It's time to end the family feud. End the family feud. The scholars of Islam say that if you're a Muslim, we're all Muslims, even if we have theological disagreements. When a Muslim say assalamu alaikum to you, you say wa alaikum salam to him. We come in peace, even if we disagree on an interpretation inside of the book. Why not Silas? Why not a man who has worked all his life for our people? Why not a man who's helping black women to be righteous? Why not a man who's helping black men to be righteous? Why not a man who's dedicated to raising a nation? It was August 21st, 1977. A man stood up. August 21st, 1977, when they had threw the messenger's books in the trash can. It was August 21st, 1977, when they had put down Master Farad Muhammad, when they had put down Elijah Muhammad. There was a man who stood up, and he stood up and declared a spiritual declaration of war. He didn't go with nobody, he went by himself. I'm going to tell you how I feel tonight, and I'm not going to cut no corners. He came alone to challenge that which was going off course, and he came by himself. And when he came by himself, then after that, everybody started to remember Elijah. But there was one who actually called the cadence, who blew a trumpet at that time. And when he stood up, everybody then knew it was okay to stand up. So if you got back to Elijah, if I got back to Elijah thinking, and you got back to Elijah Muhammad thinking, you got to understand one man opened the door, opened the gates, and he's here today, and he's about to come to this rostrum. I want you to bring on now a courageous black man, a principled brother, a man we can trust with our lives. Please bring on the Honorable Silis Muhammad. Please receive him and give him your full attention. Give him your full and 100% attention. The Honorable Silis Muhammad, the leader of the Lost Found Nation of Islam and the pioneer of the Afrodescendant government and a human rights freedom fighter. Give him your 100% attention. All praises due to him.
Assalamualaikum. I would like to first thank Brother Malik Shabazz for inviting me here and for being the first Thank you. But as you can see, I'm overtaken. Brother Malik Shabazz will be the first brother outside of the Nation of Islam who has invited me as a guest, and I do deeply thank him. Now, why he invited me, I only learned just tonight as he spoke. I learned then why I was invited. I thought when I received the invitation that I'm invited to tell of my experiences out in the United Nations and about reparations. And that's what I'm prepared to talk with you about. Ben, since he has opened the door for me, I'll teach what's really on my heart.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Why I even went to the United Nations is because of the Honorable Elijah and the teachings of Master Ron.
Yes, sir.
with that position or that perspective, I entered the United Nations. And I will still give you what is going on or has gone on out in the United Nations. But I dislike having an antagonizing statement to make against my brother who has just sat down. I don't know whether or not it's antagonizing or it's a different view. I would really have loved to discuss what I have learned about the UN from my personal experiences with him prior to tonight. And we could have solved some issues, I believe, if he loves truth, like I love truth, sure, we can solve and resolve some issues before we come before you. I'm here now, and I am representing the views of Elijah Muhammad. I'm representing the views of my Savior, Master Muhammad. And I cannot turn from that.
Yes, sir.
I do want unity with my brothers and sisters. And whatever we can unfold, where we all can come together in a democratic relationship where the people make the decisions.
Yes, sir, Mr. Muhammad.
I'm for that.
Yes, sir, Mr. Muhammad.
100%.
Yes, sir, Mr. Muhammad.
Now, I agree with quite a few things Brother Speaker before me had to say. I'm in accord with them. But at what point do they differ from the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Master Muhammad? I don't intend to confuse you or present other sides. And then again, maybe what we are doing is good for you. Maybe you need some jerking back and forth. How do you feel about it? Shall I go on? Our identity and reparations. Reparations is the making our men for wrong one has caused by paying money to or otherwise helping those who have been wronged. We are a divine people. I cannot help get around feeling that, saying that. Back in Chicago, approximately this time last year, I had been invited to Chicago by the minister there, and he had several people that he had arranged for me to have a meeting with. Among them were two reverends, one or two ladies, I forget her name, but after a point in time, she said to me, it feels like we are fulfilling prophecy. I wanted to tell her then, yes, we are. But I didn't want to argue with her or try and explain in such a short time. But we are a divine people. We have several problems. We have been rendered civilly, spiritually, and mentally unconscious of the knowledge of ourselves and the dignity of nationhood due to forced plantation slavery. We do not know how to treat each other. We are, for the most part, as viewed by some, a little above savage. My compliments to you who dream of self-determination.
Yes, sir.
A controlled nation that you yourself control. With this perception, I entered into the international community based upon the teachings of the Honorable Silis Muhammad and Master Muhammad, who gave birth to me, and a giver of spiritual birth to you or to us all. Peace be upon him. And all praises are due to Master Muhammad.
Yes, sir.
We have asserted our in the United Nations in Geneva, Switzerland, that we are in a divine mission.
Yes, sir.
I would like to, at this point, read some moments of a letter sent to me back in 1999. I had thought to read the whole letter to you, but I don't think I can get the point across by speaking it to you as much as I can. This is a white lady writing to me. She's not only telling of what we did in the UN, she's telling that how the UN works, that there are 3 bodies of the Human Rights Department, that how I have spoken to each one of these bodies of the Human Rights Department. She is likening the United Nations to a movie that she once saw. And she is likening me to Moses. And she talks about a movie that was made by Charlton Heston and Yul Brynner. Charlton Heston playing the role of Pharaoh, or Yul Brynner rather, Pharaoh, and Charlton Heston, Moses. Very hot flowers. Same kids. Yeah, they're cool to me here. She depicts me as Moses talking to Pharaoh in her letter to me. Of course, if I had been with her as she wrote this information, I would have told her quickly, I am not Moses. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad was. And I would have even taken the books and proven it to her.
Yes, sir.
That the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was or did fulfill the scripture concerning Moses. Now, of course, he did say to me one afternoon while he and I sat on his back porch. This is what I didn't tell you at the first meeting I attended with you in Marietta. With Minister Louis Farrakhan's followers around. I declined to get into any kind of argument with them. So I need to tell you this information. I could address the audience and tell them. But I lived with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad for about 2 or 3 months in his home on the 3rd floor. And he and I walked out of the front door of his house, along the wall to the back porch of his house. We took a seat on the back porch. He sat in a rocking chair, and I sat in just a plain chair. Patio or porch chair. And while he talked, and I listened, he did say to me, brother, I know that you are not my son, but yet I feel like you are my son. You are more like me than any of my sons. I was around 28, 27 years of age. And to myself, I didn't know I'm nothing like you. Because I looked on him as a holy man, and I knew I wasn't near my holy. We had that conversation. Of course, it was private between you and I. About roughly 2 months or 3 months later, he would call me to come to Bakery, to come to his house. And Bakery drive to his house was about 20 minutes to get to his house from the bakery. He had placed me in charge of the bakery and asked me to come to his house. Well, I put on spiritually what you would say 3 fat heads, thinking I'm going there to get a whooping. Like many times I heard you get a whooping, like a holler. I was with him when you see 1, 2 spankings. Well, I thought I was about to get a spanking. I sat down at the dinner table with him and asked for a cup of coffee. And I had barely touched the coffee when he said to me, I want you not to use your name anymore. I want you to use my name. Thus, I am Shabazz Muhammad. He gave me the name Muhammad in 1966. Does that ring a bell to you? Why certain persons in 1965 didn't like the name he gave them? Does it ring a bell? In 1966, I got a name, Muhammad. And when the nation fell, I called upon our brother to stand up and turn the nation back as it was. I called upon Edward Sherrill, or Edward U.S. I called upon Wally all those big tough men. Then it hit me that he gave you the name of it. Why don't you say it?
That's right. That's right.
Yes, sir.
And I would like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad according to his words. And I hope that my deeds show that I honor the name Muhammad to me, it's one worthy of praise. It's not just a name. It's something you have to live up to. Anyway, I goes on to say these UN officials are coming up with ideas that ultimately become law, and they impose law on all nations that are members of the United Nations. They impose those laws upon the whole body of nations. And thus they are called, or could be called, Pharaoh's rod or Pharaoh's staff. And the Honorable Silis Muhammad and Master Farah Muhammad, they taught you that you are deaf, dumb, blind, and that you cannot see your mother tongue. Deaf, and that you cannot hear it. In the UN, she said, that was my rod. She said that in the UN, as I said, there are, I was with the Human Rights Department. The Human Rights Department in Geneva, Switzerland, consists of the working group, the Shabazz group, the sub-commissioners higher than the working group, and the Commission on Human Rights. That is the big body. I had spoken to all three bodies. By the time I got to the fourth intervention, intervention is a statement that you write down what you're going to say before you get to the UN, because at the UN you are given a time to deliver your message, and usually the time limit does not exceed 10 minutes, most likely 5 minutes, 10 minutes if you're lucky. Well, I had given my first, second, third, and now I'm on the fourth intervention. And I would like to read what she said about my fourth intervention, rather than just read the whole letter. The fourth meeting was with the original group of experts. Now they were prepared to listen. They were prepared to listen because I had my rod and eat up their rod in 1, 2, and 3 interventions. So Hannah said. And the issue of legacy of plantation slavery was on the agenda. Silis Muhammad was there also to give them something that they had never heard before. He knew from his spiritual mother and father that the slave descendants are dead, in need of resurrection. He looked at the UN as acting as protector or prosecutor when minorities are being killed. It appeared that human rights laws would only be enforced when they protected the physical existence of people. He, Silis Muhammad, said to them, "Is not the struggle for human dignity equally as important as groups fighting for their lives? To be alive with the knowledge that I am dead is as a man dead. It's worse than physical death. Death of the physical body sets you free. Death of the human spirit is a living hell." This would be the first time the UN officials, experts, have heard the slave descendant argue that the life of the human being, human spirit, is deserving of protection, as is the life of the physical body. Within the idea, the rod of Moses challenged and ate up the rod of Pharaoh. One expert had already stated and began to elaborate more on the right to education. He said the right to education is a human right and that it should be done in your mother tongue. Your mother tongue is that which you were born originally with. I told him, I pointed out to the working group, sub-commissioner, and commission on human rights, that our original tongue had been taken from us, deprived of us. And slavery, forced slavery, it was just wiped away. The right to education in your mother tongue is a human right. A right that the UN swears every individual should and must have, and they will protect it. There are no boundaries of human rights laws once they are violated. Right. They are for every people, everywhere. Yes, and I told him that I told them that our mother tongue had been taken. By the laws written by them, we are deprived of our mother tongue.
Absolutely.
We are deprived of our original religion.
Absolutely.
We are deprived of our original culture.
Absolutely.
Then they went to work, or they finished the work on where do you fit? You were not even considered as existing at all in the United Nations. They had overlooked you altogether. There were no laws written for black people in America. In the Americas or in the diaspora. You were completely deracinated, left out, killed, spiritually. You did not know that you were dead spiritually. There are I think you could say 3 ways of fighting. Fight, kill. Basically, that's with the army. You fight or kill. Politically, that's in politics or democracy. You fight and kill. Spiritually, that's what we are now, or what we're fighting for now. The spiritual war, the war of Armageddon. Are you with me?
Yes. Yes.
That's what we were doing in the United Nations. At the 5th meeting, Silis Muhammad was calm and sighed when he said, we charged civil death. He quoted the experts in the UN on education being a fundamental right or role in the formation of personal identity. Thus, the right to education is an identity right. And you have been deprived of that. You were denied of that.
Yes, sir.
That's right.
You didn't know that.
That's right.
Criminal offense. Criminal offense.
Yeah.
Kill it. Hang it. Eyes covered.
I think I'll stop reading now. You get the message, don't you?
Yes.
I first entered the United Nations in 1989. My first venture was in The Hague. I sent my wife out before me, my wife, Alice Muhammad. Where is she? I looked for you up here, that's what I was looking for. Are you comfortable out there? Hey, come on up here. Harriet Muhammad. I changed her name to Mashaki Muhammad.
Go ahead.
She'd be the first to go out into the United Nations. In The Hague, I think she went first. Then into Geneva. It was she who attended classes that teaches one how to approach the UN, or first, how to get in the door. And that's doing with getting through the door to be able to talk to the UN body.
That's right.
She, one time, was a Chinaman, a Chinese man. She had borrowed a badge from a Chinese man and pretended that she was Chinese. She entered the meeting. I think, as an Indian woman, out there in the UN, she looks Indian. But she was black and blue, and hard. She's been in the Nation of Islam since she was 15 years old. It was she who learned of the Dr. Klein. And we sent delegates to Canada to find Dr. Klein. It's because of her doing. She is a bona fide attorney, but we have used her more in the Royal Foundation of Islam than she practiced law. What time is it?
7 o'clock.
Today, you and me, we all are recognized as Afro-descendants.
Yes, sir.
By the United Nations and Geneva.
Yes, sir.
This can be found in the UN records. There are two groups of people from Africa recognized at the UN. They are people of African descent and Afro-descendants. That is but the one way that we truly can view ourselves that is plausible to the majority of all of us, the former lost-found plantation slaves, who at this very moment have UN recognition after the steps. For us to approach the UN with a different name would show the extent of our misunderstanding.
Yes, sir.
You might not provide the term the way it sounds, Afro-descendants. We, myself, I told Emma Shaki, Harriet, included, did not like it either when we first heard it. But out in the UN, you are working with all bodies of people who have a similar problem as do you African Americans. Former lost on plantation slaves of other nations, say Colombia, St. Kitts, Jamaica, Cuba, Brazil, just to name a few. Blacks in some of those countries do not like black Americans. I felt it. I beheld it. When 17 countries and I, along with my helpmate, Harriet, was invited to meet 17 leaders from those countries to decide upon our name, what would we call ourselves. We met out in La Ceiba, Honduras. We had been there for a whole week. And on the last day, Friday, they were still holding on to the term Afrodescendants. I had there lost found people because I was a member of the Lost Found Nation Public Club. I couldn't think of any other way to identify us. That we were lost found people in St. Kitts, we were lost found people in Brazil, we were lost found people in Colombia. All of us are lost found. Former lost found plantation slaves. That's what I thought. But they did not want to listen to Silis Muhammad. Silis Muhammad, may have had on a great peony suit, alligator shoes, a Crocs, and how they may have had a string of jewelry hanging from her, and diamond rings on. Out there with them, they are poor people, and they see black Americans as big uppity, big shot. They don't want to hear your word. They don't want to take anything from you. They are, to some degree, it's kind of, you can smell it. You know when you are not wanted, when you are disliked. You know when you walk into the room where someone's been talking about you. That's right. So certainly surrounded by them, you can feel it. Well, I felt it. And at 12 o'clock that day, Friday, a gentleman of, oh, by the way, we were surrounded by, or escorted by UN officials who had come from Geneva, from the UN, and established communications, interpreters, that's the word, thank you. Interpreters, because all of us did not speak English. Some spoke Portuguese, some spoke Spanish. You Gary, what's his name? you wait. They spoke different languages, so we had to have interpreters to interpret for us. One from Cuba, the president of that group was from Cuba. I'm told at 12 o'clock to meet with the president from Cuba of that group at 6 o'clock. Well, having felt that pressure on what you feel, I reconsidered my definition and thought perhaps maybe I should go along with the term Afro-descendants. But they need some help. That term needs definition.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so once the class or the program started back, I thought I had written it down and had it somewhere here. Oh yeah, here it is. I thought the term Afro-descendants should be defined. Yeah. So I quickly, along with my wife's help, between 5 o'clock and 6 p.m., jotted down a definition of for Afro-descendants. One, the forcibly dispossessed of the homeland of Africa, who were transported to the Americas and to the diaspora. Number 3, who were subjected to slavery. Number 4, who were subjected to mixed breeding or forced rape, who have been experiencing throughout the course the loss of mother tongue, culture, and religion. 6, who have experienced racial discrimination and the loss of that original tribe. I just jotted that definition down quickly, and we met at La Ceiba Honduras restaurant, a black-owned restaurant, and there were 18 nations there, 18 or 19. They had arranged the room with a center table where we sat at the restaurant for myself, the Cuban lady, the UN interpreter on my left, and Mashaki, my wife, on my right. And I had not asked to meet with her, but she had misunderstood or been mistaken. She asked me in Spanish, what did I want to see her about? And it was interpreted to me in English. What did I need to see her about? Well, I chuckled and smiled at her, and she was kind of a straight face, like kind of stuck up. A young lady, but she'd been hearing me all week saying lost found people. So she thinks that I assume, she thinks that I'm going to argue with her about lost found people. And she had already decided, along with others, on a term Afrodescendant. So I placed the little rolled up note into the hands of the interpreter. And he gave the list to, I'm forgetting her name, I have it written down here, but I don't want to look it up. He gave it to her, I call her Kiva. And he and she read the first definition. And I noticed a little bitty smile come on her face. Second definition, smile come on her face. Third definition, fourth definition, fifth definition. And she ended up smiling and reaching across the table to embrace me. I had acquiesced and accepted the term Afrodescendant. Strangely enough, in this spacious restaurant, guess what? There appeared on the wall of this black restaurant a picture of Malcolm X in life size. They knew about Islam, about the Honorable Silis Muhammad, and I say Bahadur.
Yes, they do. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Keep in mind, now I entered the international community under that term, Lost Foundation of Islam. And I spoke about the Lost Foundation of Islam. I spoke about the Honorable Silis Muhammad. I spoke about Master Farad Muhammad, to whom all praise is due. Until they hit me on the hand, and we don't do that out here. Well, in the end, they don't talk no religion. So I had to learn how to put religion into politics.
Teach us, Mr. Muhammad. Teach. Teach.
Both my wife and I spent about 17 years out there fighting with those so-called educated.
It's okay. It's okay.
You don't have to be a Muslim to enter the Afro-Descendant Nation.
That's right.
When I first introduced that thought to the Lost Foundation of Islam under my direction, many are Muslims. I don't want to be Muslim, I want to be the Lost Afro-Descendant Nation. Because being a Muslim requires some discipline. Now, we can't discipline Afro-Descendant Nation. That's an instrument all to itself.
That's right.
That's a democracy. The Lost Foundation of Islam was and still is under strict rules, or fairly strict rules, somewhat altered. What is the purpose of, if you'll bear with me, I'll get back to the UN and our identity in just a second. But I want you to know the purpose of the Lost Foundation of Islam. It is to keep the history alive. and also to bring ethnogenesis to the general, in the general resurrection to the sleeping dead. With truth, in the Afrodescendant Nation, you may and you may not speak the truth, but I have a duty to tell you the truth.
Yes, sir.
Truth is seeing with a mind's eye, as in Holy Quran, chapter 22:6. Allah, a God, He, Allah, a God, He is the truth. Truth is visional reality. You cannot see the truth with a physical eye. You hear the facts and circumstances from which in all probability a reasonable mind can deduce the truth.
Yes.
It is truth that brings life to the spiritually dead.
That's right.
It stirs and swells and brings forth a beautiful growth
Yes, sir.
of Gordon or Afrodescendant Nation.
Yes, sir.
Please know that you are former lost found plantation slave children. Your foreparents were slaves. Before they were slaves, your foreparents were in Africa. What was your foreparents' religion when they were in Africa? What tongue did they speak then? We do not know. How do you? Thus, we are dead of that knowledge, unconscious of that knowledge, unaware of that knowledge. That knowledge is our original tongue. That knowledge is our original culture. Our original religion. That knowledge you are without today. Not just in America, in every place where we have been scattered. Someone brought us that knowledge of ourselves. We are talking about our identity. That man who brought us our understanding, awareness of self was Master Honorable Muhammad.
Yes, sir.
Who spoke face to face with the man Elijah Muhammad. In reality, like am I now speaking to you? Just as a man speaking with a friend. He said, you, we, us are the Asiatic black man. We originally started out in Mecca, Arabia. He takes us back to our beginning, our origin, where we are from. Speaking on the need of identification of the group of us, which must include the 250 million of us all.
Yes, sir.
Not just here in America.
That's right.
You were not the only former slave. We were scattered all across Americas and in the diaspora. Why is that term, Afrodescendants, not acceptable by you? Is it because you were not there? Between 1998 to 2002, we asked for grassroots leaders,
Yes,
grassroots groups in the United States to participate in the progress or in the process. We asked all the groups that we knew to come out there. One group particularly said, you can be the spokesperson for us all.
That's right.
We in the United States are poised to take the lead as we unknowingly took the lead in civil rights. The people of the world are watching us and that which we do. Although there is much prejudice against us, we Afro-descendants or African Americans are kind of uppity. We don't know what we call the ugly Americans by our own people. Some of us don't know how to submit, acquiesce. My way is the best way. I'm talking about 250 million of us. We are in America the actresses, the actors, the musicians, music makers, rappers, basketball players, and boxing champions of the world. Why not knowingly take our place on the world stage as Afro-descendants? In a well-organized, right-doing, all righteous government by rules and laws made up by the people and not his version or her version, and ultimately not my version. But I must sit here for a little while longer to watch the bird at least fly and make sure that it does not fly into harm's way.
Yes, sir.
The Holy One and Bible carry the same fictional, but reasonably true, twisted here and there, but at the base, they are the same scripture, both the Bible and the Holy Quran. In 1915, King Hussein of Mecca, Arabia, miscalculated, and as a result, he paved the way for Great Britain to achieve its twice promised land. And the Jews gained the land of Palestine. They claimed to be Israel after any proof that they were in bondage 400 years in Egypt. You can search the records all over. I'll Google it if you please. There has been no slave ever in Egypt.
Teach us, Mr. Muhammad. Teach us.
The results of that grave legal action is the ongoing war and terror for the entire world today. The League of Nations became the United Nations. I'm looking now for a paper. No, thank you. I'm looking now for a piece of or an intervention that I delivered to the United Nations or the League of Nations, which later on became the United Nations. In 2006, and I cannot put my hand on it right now, but you could quite easily go to the Google or UN records and see the document written by Silis Muhammad and delivered by Silis Muhammad to the UN. What I am telling the UN that they have in fact screwed up. For well over it all printed up. For well over 9 years, we have been traveling to Geneva. For 9 years, we have spoken to the submission and to the and about the Afrodescendant people. We know that we are in a nation of people historically. All the wise silence and you in your heart will bear witness that we are Afro-descendants. We were scattered through slavery, stripped of our original language, culture, and religion, living today suffering the lingering effects of slavery. Let me skip on down here to what I really want to get to. We want, we want formal UN recognition of our self-chosen name, Afrodescendant. We want restoration to the human families of the earth. For the sake of civil justice and to correct the grave error of the United Nations. Here we pray in error. UN grant us restoration and reparations. For 60 years ago, we scattered people who claim to be forget that. I say claim to be Great Britain had in its parliaments some Jewish parliamentarians or Jewish officers. And they had as early as 1841 wished to go back into the Middle East, into Palestine. And finally they came up with a Balfour Agreement, a Balfour Declaration. And in 1915, King Hussein of Saudi Arabia was under pressures by the Ottoman Empire. And he signed an agreement with Great Britain for the mutual or exclusive rights over Saudi Arabia or Arabia. He gained the protection of Great Britain. But Great Britain on the side, without Hussein's knowledge or secretly, signed a separate agreement, which meant that after the war, neither France or Great Britain could claim Palestine. Thus, they had to turn it over to the League of Nations, or the United Nations. And it would be the League of Nations who granted the Jews the right to enter Palestine as a nation, the twice promised land. Now, those twice promised, what does that mean to you? Britain twice promised. It may simply means that it's promised in the Bible to Ishmael's seed, who shall spend 400 years in bondage. And in both Bible and Quran. And now Great Britain is promising it also, twice promised, based upon a lie. The promised land was promised to Ishmael's seed. The homeland of Ishmael is Canaan. Canaan is Palestine. Ishmael's home is in Mecca, Arabia. Mecca, Arabia is the primeval homeland, according to history, of Arabia. Of the first known man and civilization on earth. Who was the first man, the first people on earth? Black nation?
Yes, sir.
You.
That's right.
Where did you get this knowledge? It came from Master Barack Obama,
Yes, sir.
to whom all praises
Yes,
are.
sir.
President.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Plus, the acceptance, we, you and me, we bear proof that we are that individual. The Afrodescendants. Is this where prophecy and reality transition? Is this where prophecy and reality meet? The acceptance of us, it is declared, will bring peace to Arabia. We are told to enter, according to Messenger Elijah Muhammad, speaking nothing but the truth.
Yes, sir.
Unarmed and seeking ceasefire arrangement in the region. Plus, it is the country we are asking to support and to take our case to the UN for reparations.
Yes, sir.
For we are not members of the United Nations. We need a country that's in good standing, that's a member of the UN to support us. We are in need of a recognized nation to the UN to represent us. For we do not have standing to sue. We are not members of the UN. That we will have to apply for and see that is accomplished. It may take overnight, then again it could take several years based upon my personal experiences. I think at this point, I will sit down and call whether a minister, Malik Z, or he has some information that he would like to share with us.
Let us give our elder, let's give him a round of applause.
Let us give our elder, pioneer, and a long-time fighter for us a round of applause. I thank you. Give it up for the Honorable Silis Muhammad. Y'all all right? Y'all all right?
All right, now, stick tight. We're bringing all of the tribes together. And we have another leader of the World African Diaspora Union. He's going to be coming on in a moment. And he's going to go on till next Wednesday. I'm going to let him be introduced. Come here, Kamal, real quick. I want to say something before I turn it over to Minister Hashim and Zinga. You know, we ate somewhere Friday, and several were sick. I'm glad I didn't get sick. But several got sick, and it's still under investigation. And Minister Hashim and Zinga was one of those that was sick and couldn't make the rally yesterday. But I'm glad he's back today. Check him out. Check him out. All right, so step here, sir. 1 second. All right, I want to say this. Brother Bobby Worth. All right, I'm in the wrong time. We're going to take a couple of steps here, but I want to announce something. Because part of our job and my job is building the organizational and the political movement and the alliance that lays the base for self-determination and everything that these experts and advocates are fighting for. We have, as promised, a national defense ministry that is developing. A national defense ministry, a citizens defense force. And some of them are here, others are on their way. But from the Black Men's Movement, this is Brother Shabazz from the Black Men's Movement. Come here, Bobby. Brother Shabazz is a professional MMA fighter. He fights out here professionally. And he's my assistant, so better leave me alone. This is another MMA fighter. He is the Black Panther Party. He's professional fighters up here. And this is the chairman of the new Black Panther Party, Minister Hashim Zinga. We have, and I want all of you who are across the country who are watching, if you can clear our stringent security procedures, you will be a part of this. We have the new Black Panther Party. We have the Huey P. Newton Gun Club.
Yes.
That's right. You can give them a hand. Huey P. Newton Gun Club. We have Urban Sharpshooters. Urban Sharpshooters. They are on their way, but they are professional, trained firearms trainers and advocates. Yes, they are. And I'm bringing them together. And I don't mind saying it publicly because it's legal and it's lawful. And we're saying that the black people and the black populations have a self-determination right to self-defense.